is.
Hey, Cleveland Moto Podcast number 474, straight back from Mid-Ohio. Light them up, boys. Nice, good out. I just finished mine, so I'm going to get one later. Nice. Good job. That was effervescent. Effervescent. To my immediate left.
This is Dan Kropke.
And what are you drinking tonight, Dan?
Market Garden Pin High Pills.
Never a bad move. Never a bad move. And to his left.
Oh, Steve Sleepy.
What are you drinking there, Sleepy?
So this is called Deep Fake.
Hey!
By Flying Dog Brewery, and they just changed it. So it used to be purple, and it had a better flavor, and now they changed it to this, and I'm not as happy.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Okay.
A disgruntled customer.
Yes. To his left.
Greg Castillo.
Greg, it's been a while. What are you drinking?
Hollywood Greg.
Just a high noon.
High noon, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little tequila to get you there.
Oh, why not?
And to his immediate left.
Speedy Pete.
And to his immediate left.
Tim and Tim.
You're drinking a Heineken NA over there.
Heineken 00, yeah.
You guys have been
yeah.
You guys have been loving on that.
Yeah, that is kind of
yeah.
the house beer at this point is Heineken AA.
It really is. It
Oh
really
my
is.
God, it's so bad.
I have no idea what I'm drinking.
He's just drinking whatever showed up.
Yeah, he kind of reached into
Tim,
the
put your
fridge and
face into the microphone,
Yeah.
like 3 inches away.
That better?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Sorry.
That's perfect.
What's
Yep.
the words on the front of that can say?
What is it?
You can have the crown. I don't know.
You can have the crap.
I think that was one of the grab bags. That
I think
you
it was
got.
a grab bag. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And then behind the bar.
Tom Pennington.
What you drinking tonight, Tom?
I am drinking Glutenberg because that's who I am.
Because Glutenberg.
That is where I am.
So, we're going to lead off because we're going to give you guys all the tales of history and misery and fun and shenanigans of Mid-Ohio. But what I wanted to call people's attention to is we have set a podcast record for ourselves. We've had 14,281 downloads in the last 30 days.
Hurrah.
So,
Yay.
Party-
Yeah.
I don't have the popper thing.
That breaks
for it
down to
anymore.
almost 500 a day for you kids that are math
isn't that
challenged.
fucking, that's a lot of downloads.
But I was looking the other day. I was trying to figure out exactly where we are on the listings of
Yep.
of motorcycle podcasts.
Right. Exactly.
Because a friend of mine was
We're number
talking about-
one.
Well, yeah, we are the world's greatest.
Yep. And so, as far as I would like to let people know who don't listen to the podcast, the one of you.
How would you let them know if they're not listening?
Exactly.
The Venn diagram of motorcycle podcasts and AMA Vintage Days attendees. We have good coverage.
Oh, yeah.
We've got excellent coverage.
The best.
Dan, do you recall how many bottles of brown liquor showed up this weekend? Last
I
weekend?
think I counted 5,
Yeah,
maybe
and
6.
And they were all
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody brought us any cheap shit. They were the giving was strong at the Cleveland Moto Podcast. Sleepy, how many joints did you give out?
300.
Hey, all right. Way to go, Sleepy. Nice.
I still have B. Smith's
Right.
bottle of Malort.
Way to go, Bobby. Bobby Smith
Bobby
shows
Smith.
up with the Malort. Yeah. Right. They're good. Well done. I got to say, I was very, very blown away by how sweet all the humans were that showed up.
Absolutely.
And they'd show up and they'd be like, hey, I'm a podcast listener and I just wanted to come by and say hi. And that's great. And hey, where are you camping? Oh, we're not camping. We're just sleeping in our car. Well, bring your car over here.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Right. And we made a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Well, how many people didn't believe? We were like, no. The giant kitchenette that Tom has
my
set up
God.
is for you.
The Chuck wagon.
The
yeah.
FEMA tent that we have set up with
Yep.
lounge apparel,
Oh, yeah.
that is for you.
That is for you.
And then they got it.
Fully carpeted.
And then they hung
Yeah,
out.
they
And it
did.
was great.
What is it? I think, was it Margarita? No, it's House of Blues. It has the thing that says all are welcome.
All are well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing is literally if bring ice.
Yeah, bring ice is absolutely it, right?
Bring something
Ice
to
is
the
a
snack
currency.
table.
Yeah.
You could get away with a lot. I bet you could get a non-running motorcycle out of there with a few bags of
Oh
ice.
yeah.
Or larger-wise.
We had food for days.
We did.
Because Becky loves to host. Like that's her thing. It's being hostess with the most. And we had what's his name 2.0?
Jake.
Jake 2.0, our new helper.
Our new helper. And
Yeah, solid dude.
Pete the fireman, does that sound right?
Mike.
No, Mike the fireman.
Mike.
Mike showed up because he was cooking, and then Anson showed up and he made grilled cheese with his homemade bread.
Dude, Anson's bread is sick.
Exactly.
His fucking garlic bread, or whatever he made. I was like, I really don't want to be eating bread. It's a lot of carbs. And then I smelled it. And I'm like, well, I'll just eat this loaf. This loaf will be fine to eat.
We'll be okay. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to toss, because again, there were a lot of people there, and we're going to be doing shout outs. We're going to be reminding our folks, thank you for showing up, because it was a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a blast. So one of our podcast listeners, John Natradowski, right?
That's Carter's dad. I bet.
Carter's dad.
I remember because
This is the guy with the boot?
It is the guy with the
It's
boot.
the guy with the boot.
He showed up to Mid-Ohio pre-broken.
Yep.
God bless him. And then he did barrel racing.
Yep.
Nice.
With a broken ankle.
And he
Broken
also, to his dismay, he didn't know that Johnny Mac was going to be low key this year.
Right.
So he showed up with a holster of Natty Days.
I knew he did. He showed up with a beer delire.
Yeah.
Loaded with Natty Days.
Yeah, he was ready
Natty
to
Days.
go.
He was ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to read this out to you guys. Carter and I thank you for all the great time we had at Mid-Ohio. You guys were so good to us. Your hospitality and advice were much appreciated. You guys treated us like longtime friends, and you really made Mid-Ohio feel like a special place. Thanks, and I hope to see you there next year. Carter is already making plans.
His
you
kid
go.
rolled, man. His kid was up for anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he was eyeballing what, a CR 250?
Yeah.
You told me he wanted an ankle breaker. He wanted the limp.
He did want to limp. He went for the rest of his life. Yeah, for real. But one of my favorite moments of this year, not just this year, but many years, is sitting back and just watching what happens in front of our spot.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my long and short of this. One of our podcast listeners had showed up with his daughter, Ivy, right? Mm-hmm. And so she's 13, 14 years old, right? And she shows up and she's bike curious. I mean, bike curious.
Bike curious.
Right. And so she shows up and she's just having a good time. And all of a sudden, Tom
Yeah.
walks her over.
Yeah. They're headed to, I think it was they've been doing mountain bikes forever.
Yeah.
And they're headed over to the center where they're doing like this dirt bike curious thing. They actually had posters up for it everywhere.
Absolutely.
Well, this is Anson's daughter.
This is Anson's daughter.
This is the guy who made
Correct.
the bread's daughter.
This is the guy who made the bread. Yeah. And they're like, okay, well, how are we getting there? I said, well, does she know how to ride? And he went, well, no, she's never really ridden before. I said, but you've been doing mountain bikes forever, right? He says, yeah. I says, all right, cool. This is called the Coleman Mini Bike. As I pointed out previously, the best bike you can have for Mid-Ohio, period.
Not wrong.
I said, here you go. I said, if you can ride this, go.
Right.
And Bagel was being tour guide. So they went over. It took them a couple minutes to figure out, and they did the instructions and everything else. They did the walk around.
Yep.
They got it started.
Yep.
And she rode it about 5 feet and was kind of a little bit wary about it. She had her helmet on. She had the gear on. She was ready to go. So they fucked. And about 2 hours-ish later, they came back and she did this full fucking power slide back into the campsite. Like the last year when Sleepy came into the power slide, but he high-sided.
Yeah, she's successful.
She owned
with
it.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
fucking owned that power
Yeah,
slide.
she surpassed my skills. Then she borrowed my fucking pit bike, learned gears, and then came back on one wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. And here's the thing is, none of us outside of the Coleman experience, once she literally got, this is the choke, this is how you pull start it,
yeah.
this is where the brake is, this is the gas. The adults were off the clock.
Yep.
Because Carter stepped up.
Yep.
So Carter, I think, was 12. He's like a couple of years younger than her.
They're approximate aged.
Right. And so Carter, all of a sudden, we just noticed that every time I turn around, she's been upgraded.
Yep.
She's now gone from a centrifugal clutch Coleman to a semi-automatic. And she's rocking the semi-auto. And then I have a couple of drinks later and I turn around and somebody has convinced Carter to go get his XR.
Oh, yeah. She's like on an XR 250.
No, XR 100, right?
100?
He gets her XR. He gets his XR and teaches her how to use a clutch.
Yep. Oh, wow.
This is a child teaching another child.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like,
Hey, the kid,
my heart grew 3 sizes.
those two, the kids are all right.
Yeah, the kids
Right
are
there,
all
the
right.
kids are all right.
And so off she fucks on the shifter
Oh,
on the
yeah.
XR. And Carter's standing there. And Carter didn't know it, but it was Carter's first dad moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so she'd fucked off. And Carter starts, he's pacing. And I went, what's up, man? And he goes, she's been gone a while. And I went, we all been there, man.
Yeah, she's not coming back, buddy.
Ask Unky Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The first thought is, I hope she's okay. The second thought is, is she going to sell my bike?
Yeah.
Right?
The third,
She's gone.
The third thought is she out on the hair scramble?
So
She left you for
Oh,
a guy
yeah.
with. She left you for a guy with a CR 125.
Absolutely.
So he pops his
Got a
helmet.
Dear John letter on the bike.
Right. He pops his helmet on and goes to go find her.
Oh, yeah.
So moments later, several bad decisions later. That was our flag.
We need to put that up on the podcast.
We will.
like, whatever.
That's good. The flags worked
flags were on
very well.
point.
Yeah.
So they come back, and I was like, "That's amazing."
Yeah.
So as Carter and his dad are getting ready, Carter and John are ready to hit the road, and hey, they're giving their goodbyes, and again, they were just like, "This is it. This is the only place we wanted to be all weekend."
Yeah, nice.
This was our base camp. You guys made this base camp for us, and here's me being me, Unky Phil. I'm like, "Did you get her digits?" And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Did you get her digits?"
I didn't even think of that.
Did you get her number?
Bruh.
What? Did you get her number? And he goes, "No."
Her Insta, her TikTok.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
You got to get the socials and, all that stuff.
And I was just like, "Oh, that's right. He's just on the other side of that."
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Right?
There's no such thing as
He
getting a
still
phone
thinks
number.
motorcycles are the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to go to women are the coolest thing in the world for a number of years, and then you'll circle
what?
back.
You know,
right?
he's going to do that thing about a year from now. Actually, if this continues to be a family event, then it's not going to matter. But he's going to do this thing in a couple of years. Going to be like, what was I thinking?
Well, the interesting part about this year, to your point, like watching all this take place. So every year, I'm a fucking man. I run around and film everything, right?
Yep.
But this year, I started talking to people, and then the experiences became more important to me. I didn't film fucking hardly anything.
Yeah.
Like I just fucking hung out and talked to people and enjoyed it.
I took
it was
4
fucking awesome.
photos, 2 of which were of the flags, and 2 of which were of Riley because he is having the greatest doggy weekend of just
Yeah, he was.
But-
Your dog was
Yeah, the
truly
dog
living
was
the
good.
life of
Oh, he-
Riley. Yeah.
life
But it's
Riley.
interesting when you do so Mid-Ohio can be the same event can be so many different events on how
Yeah.
you play it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you could be a party guy and then miss half the mornings,
Yeah.
or you could be the 6 a.m. guy, which I was
Or
getting
you
up
be
at
that
6.
jackass with a fucking cannon we all wanted to go beat with a sock full of fucking nickels.
Yeah, or the guys at 3 a.m. who decided to blow up whatever that was. Phil was smart enough to bring earplugs. He didn't.
I
He didn't
have no idea what happened.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
Mike the fireman was hanging out over there, and he was on his 1250 BMW GSA. And I said, let's go do a lap around the swap meet or something. So he jumped on Chris's bike.
Yeah.
And we rode over there. We watched some of the races. We went through the swap meet and stuff. He's like, I never knew this stuff was over here. He goes, this stuff's going. I was like, this is kind of the event. I said, you're like camping over there, just like hanging out with you, just being a guy,
Well,
whatever.
every section of that entire map is an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because if we didn't do that live podcast, I wouldn't know that little area existed.
Right.
Right. Well,
Absolutely.
and then some people like Harley Bob, he has no interest in leaving his campsite.
Yeah.
But
In fact, he never got on a bike.
no.
Oh, really? Not once.
He just enjoys. He
And
likes to watch the parade go by.
That's what, yeah, Chris asked him. He's like, "What's the draw here for you?" He's like, "I just like to sit here and
He's
just
a-
watch people go
he's
by."
like, I got no
He's a
woman.
social creature.
I got no woman. Nobody telling me what to do. I can get fucked up at 8 a.m. and
Yeah.
stay that way until 2 a.m. and do that for 4 days and watch all you idiots do idiot stuff and enjoy every.
Well, what Sleepy said about just not even taking pictures of videos. One of our friends, Mark Adams,
Right.
he always goes there and he always gets the press pass and he's always taking photos and video by the track. He's got a press pass and all that. And this year I was like, hey, so you doing that again? You're gonna do the? He's like, no. I just want to go and enjoy it. I want to ride around. I want to camp. I want to see everything. I don't want to have to be tied, carrying 30, 40 pounds of material, all my cameras and batteries and if that, He said, I just want to go and enjoy it. And that's what he did,
So I have a question. Let's hear what people did this year they never did before.
Oh, that's a really, really good question.
I went and saw the Wall of Death live, which
you
I've
did?
never done before.
You've never done the wall of
All
death.
right.
Never done the Wall of
That's
Death.
worthwhile. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
What was your
Absolutely.
impression?
What'd you think?
What'd you think, Dan?
That was awesome. I went with Dan, and
Oh yeah.
he's like the first one out there. This guy's going around grabbing money out of people's hands.
Oh, Dan's
He's like going for the 5s. Maybe there's
no.
a 10. Dan holds out a 20.
No.
He didn't even do a full rotation. He came up and got that 20. He did that guy a huge favor. Then all the 20s came
Yep.
out.
Yep. And if you gave Dan the chance, he would do the wall of death himself.
Well, and Dan's the kind of guy you want in any event that you do because he will immediately pump it up. He is an official fan of whatever you're doing at that moment.
Absolutely.
He's fired the fuck up.
Well, he said he was
professional
drinking with
hype boy.
Hobo Bill, one of the riders, afterwards. I missed that part.
Yeah, they were Dan. They went to Kentucky Corner like right after we kind of separated a little bit. I came back and he's like, "Yeah, I was down there drinking with Hobo Bill." I'm like, "Who?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, Hobo Bill on the wall of death and stuff." I'm like, "And you didn't come get the rest of us?"
Hey, that's
what
fine.
the hell?
Yep. That's good. That's rock solid.
Exactly.
Wall of death. Anybody else do anything they have never done?
I cooked for 2,000 people.
Right. Yes, you did. Yep.
I bought absolutely nothing. I have
You
never done that in
sold.
20 years.
No,
I've
Sleepy.
never.
Sleepy. You did something better than that. You sold everything.
A lot of bikes.
But you know what? The crazy part is I guess and Phil, you're gonna probably punch me for this. But,
Okay.
but I never realized how much work selling bikes was at Mid Ohio.
Sure. No
I
big
tell-
deal. No
listen,
big deal.
No, it's easy, right?
Right.
I had to
Simple-
go up there
super
like
simple.
1,000 times, like when
Yeah.
people finally started to have interest, and then go back and forth, and then the stress and the pressure, and then when the dude goes away, you're like, oh my god, I got to see this guy for 2 more days. I hope he fucks off. Like,
Phil, how long have you been going to Mid Ohio?
25 years.
Has anyone else longer than 25 years been going to Mid Ohio?
25
I got about 20 years over the course of a few breaks.
Yeah,
25 years.
I'm about 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. You know, I missed a few in the, but
I've been going to Mid Ohio before it was at Mid Ohio.
right.
It was
But
a fairgrounds.
I remember years ago, and people will never understand that the Kentucky Corner wasn't always the Kentucky Corner.
Right.
And at night, you would see just in the tent camping area, bonfires here and there.
Yep.
And you'd hear people playing acoustic guitar.
Yep.
And it was nice.
Crickets.
It wasn't like everyone's jam packed now,
Right.
like trailers on. It was like you could see over, there wasn't, at one point in the night, one guy would fire up his bike and redline it, and then another guy over on the other side would fire it up, and there'd be like 20 bikes redlining their bikes at night. You can't do that now because you wouldn't hear them.
Well, that's because there's 40,000 people less back then.
right, right.
Yep.
But it turned into something, and
It did.
that I don't think a lot of people, were expecting that. Like now, it's more of a party than it is
Well, that's-
more about the vintage.
I've actually seen some complaints about the fact
Right.
that it's now a party
Well,
atmosphere.
that's because the old guys are getting pissed. Cause
Right.
Exactly.
Because if I wanted to be an old guy, I would have been pissed at physically pissed
Yeah.
at 3:30 when some dude woke everybody back up. But then I'm like, no, you're just getting old. They're having fun, and it would have
Right.
been you
Right.
20 years ago.
Exactly.
Right? Like
Everyone plans for Mid Ohio. As soon as Mid Ohio ends, they're planning for the next Mid Ohio.
Yeah, we're all literally every single person at this table right now is thinking about what they're going to do 362 days from now.
right.
And here's the cool part, I think, that Mid Ohio has done. So as you said, it started as that, right? And then it's become this thing. And then the Kentucky Corner happened. And then the ClevelandMoto FEMA camp started to happen. But what's interesting now, though,
Ooh, I
is
should
that
get
you have the
MREs for next
25 and 30-year-olds that have
Yes.
about 5 or 6 years experience.
Yes.
And they're like, so they bring their own mosh pit.
Yeah.
Or they bring whatever they're into. And it's
That
kind of
was
neat that you
interesting,
can
yes.
find all these different things all
Yeah,
over.
in the last couple of years, they have the punk bands that play over by the barrel racing.
Yeah.
And Rippers
And-
Row, man. Rippers Row does not fuck around.
The one guy had posted a video of they're like just jumping pit bikes over what was I can only describe as a makeshift ramp.
Oh, it was
And
like
then
a
there's
pallet
like-
or something.
yeah.
No, the tailgate guys were fucking killing me. Did you see them? They had a tailgate off a truck.
Okay.
And in the middle of the dust storm from the barrel races,
Yeah.
they had this ramp. And like Riley and I were walking down there and like stumbling through there because you can't see shit.
Yeah.
And they're getting 30 feet off this tailgate.
Oh, they had- yeah.
fucking.
You see in the video, the guys like there's laying 5 or 6 guys
Oh, yeah.
behind the jump, and these guys on these pit bikes are clearing them no
Yeah.
problem.
Like I said, the motor for next year, we talked about this in the live podcast. The motor for next year, Predator.
Yeah, but so this year especially though, because of the way the sun was and the dirt and everything, I've never, if anybody's ever ridden or read the Hunter S. Thompson stuff when he covers the Mint 400,
Yep.
Yeah.
I've never felt like I was there with him
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
Like the pit bikes were going, the
Trust-
dust was rising, the orange
Yep.
sun was like blazing through it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it was like dudes with like like dust masks on. It just looks like so fucking apocalyptic.
Yeah, have you
100%.
seen Fear and Loathing Las Vegas and Johnny Depp's walking with he's got his hand over his beer like this.
Yeah,
full of sand.
He's got that thing and a cigarette
the
sticking
mint.
out. He just cut a little hole in, in the thing.
And that literally-
I was that guy because I had my glass. I was in the barrel. Listen, I was in the barrel racing, right? And I'm not kidding. You could not see the
couldn't?
guy in front of you.
No.
5 feet in front of you because the dust was so bad.
And when you came out, you literally had like 2
my
inches
God,
of dust.
I was covered.
Smith said his generator stopped running because the
believe
air
it.
filter on his generator got so clogged
I believe it.
that it died.
Well,
Harley Bob said the same thing.
I don't know if you guys saw, they were actually, instead of the barrel racing, and they were doing like in the infield, you know how it goes down and then up
saw
in the
that,
back? And these guys were ripping up and down in air. Well, me and I think Mark at one point, we went back there and there was a lady, one of the officials sitting there on a golf cart. And I said, "Oh, did you stop everyone from ripping around here?" You know, she goes, "Well, we had to." All the dust that they were kicking up onto the track caused 2 of the riders to crash on the track and go to the hospital. So that's how bad it was. The dust had
it
gone
was-
from
it
the
was
infield
really
onto the
bad.
track. 2 guys went to the hospital, and they would just they were racing on the track. But the
Visibility
dust was so
became
bad, yeah.
insane. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
So
crazy.
if anybody wants Unky Phil's history lesson, so Unky Phil's history lesson for tonight is that way back in year of our Lord 2012, we were approached by at the time up until that point we were partying in our swap meet spots. So it was legendary to do the swap meet.
Yeah.
And the swap meet was where you'd have your campers and stuff in your swap meet spot. And some of these swap meet parties got a little woohoo fun, right? And so I was approached by AMA Vintage Days. We had always done an event called Rockers versus Mods or Mods versus Rockers or whatever. And so we decided to do the peanut butter and chocolate trick. And instead of me actually organizing Mods versus Rockers, oh, fuck it. Let's just do it at AMA Vintage Days.
Sure.
We're all going to be there anyway.
Yeah.
So we decided that we would work with the AMA and we invented Rockers versus Mods. The reason we couldn't do Mods versus Rockers is because Larry Fletcher and the guys in Chicago actually had owned like the Mods versus Rockers thing. They had a magazine, all kinds of good shit. And they're our friends.
Sure.
So AMA doesn't want to get sued. So they changed it from Mods and Rockers to Rockers and Mods. Yay. The artwork is in front of you right now. And we had tricked them into allowing us to have a bonfire. We said we cannot have a Mods versus Rockers unless we have a bonfire
In the swap meet.
behind the swap meet.
Okay.
So in the overflow parking behind the swap meet, AMA and Mid-Ohio track officials had said, okay,
Yeah.
over in that area on the hill by the trees where all the overflow parking is, we're going to
This
let
isn't
you
when the barn burned down, is
Nope.
it? Okay.
we're going to let you have a fire up there. And so we said, check. We have been fully endorsed,
Yeah.
croissant if you were, by staff.
Did you get it in writing too?
AMAs and a thing. So this is great. And a lot of people showed up for the party, right? So even people that weren't interested in the racing or the swap meet, they showed up for the party.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a pickup truck full of beer and we had about 56 motorcycle pallets that I brought down.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Was there gasoline involved?
Much gasoline was involved.
Much.
So we had built this legit, straight up normal bonfire.
Sure.
And we built some ramps so that people could cross said bonfire on their motorcycles. And it was super cool. And so Friday night, when, we got the Friday night party was very chill and very low key, but we were going to blow it all out on Saturday. So Friday night, we do the stuff and we ride around and it's a party environment. But we're all kind of like, are we going to burn those pallets? And I was like, yeah, we're going to burn those pallets tomorrow night. Don't worry. And everybody's like, no, let's just burn a few of them tonight. I'm like, no. AMA and Mid-Ohio said they've given us the blessing. Tomorrow night is good for fire.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, great. So we managed to keep everybody away from the fucking the pallets.
Yeah.
And that was a job, right? We posted up guards.
Yeah.
Because, people want to have a good time.
Sure.
But Saturday night starts getting dusky. We start building the fire. And of course, we have several fire engineers there. I mean, arsonists. I mean, yeah, those guys.
Fire
And
starters.
They're there. So we get the fire going good. Guys are jumping through the fire. And honestly, you couldn't ask for anything better. We got Muse going. We got PA system. It's actually a really, really good party. But apparently the fire got so big that people in adjoining properties could see it.
Yeah.
And so the fire department got called. and they all showed up.
Yeah.
And they were pretty excited about that.
I believe it.
And so all the fire department shows up, and they put our fire out with much enthusiasm.
Those pricks.
Yeah, exactly. they put our fire out with extreme prejudice.
Yeah.
So they put our fire out, and I immediately grabbed the bat phone, and I am smashing numbers, and I'm calling everybody from the AMA I know, and I'm calling everybody from Mid-Ohio that I know, and I'm like, you must report immediately to the bonfire. We're having a problem with the
get over
local,
here.
hose rollers.
Constabulary.
The hose rollers. The cops were cool. The sheriff's department was fine. They were all happy watching us crash. But so 2 people dispatched up, somebody from the AMA and somebody from Mid-Ohio. And they went, yeah, this is cool. We told them. In fact, that was part of the deal. That was part of the contracted event was we were going to have a bonfire. It's in some of the documentation that went out inviting people to attend. We are encouraging a party atmosphere because, like you guys said, it was quiet prior to that.
Yeah.
And the fire department went from being adversarial to, well, has anybody here used the jaws of life? Let's use the jaws of life to break up pallets.
Yeah.
Right? And they helped us rebuild the fire.
Nice.
There's no greater arsonist. I've learned this over the years. No greater arsonist than a fireman.
Yeah.
They know how to start them.
They know how to start.
And I love the fact that all the gas that we had magically made disappear when we saw the bright red trucks.
Yeah.
The guy's like, if we only had a bit of an accelerant around here. and everybody's like,
Well, it's
If
funny
we-
that you asked.
are we cool with this?
If we only had a Bell Ray drum full of old gas.
Yeah, you see that 55-gallon drum that says flammable?
What's your flavor? Do you like a high test, premix?
What do you
we got
want?
it all.
We got some old race
That's
gas.
the thing. We do have a
that year was the year that
we
got the party started, and we also got the party shut down.
Yeah.
And the people at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course went, damn, we got some people this year. We got some extra ticket sales.
Yeah.
And AMA went, we got a lot of people showing up and getting memberships because of that poster.
Yeah.
So because of that poster, we got a bunch of people that had never been to AMA before. Now, you can imagine all the people that represent the guy on the orange motor scooter. They probably hadn't been to AMA Vintage Days before, but they all showed up for this. So they decided that a party was a good idea. Flash forward 4 years, and there is a a couple of hand trucks full of PBR showing up at Kentucky Kickdown Corner, courtesy of the AMA.
Yep.
Yeah. You know a good thing when you see one, and you're not in a hurry to throw sand on it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I bet you what happened was after that event, they would look back and they said, well, every year we have about a 5% budget increase that we can plan for next year. And then after that, they were like, we got about 150% of the money that we had last year. Maybe we should keep doing this.
And I will say that when the genie left the bottle in 2012 and the idea that AMA became a place you could party has never, ever slowed down. It only got bigger. It's only gotten, and I think that anybody who was there this year will tell you, I don't need a ticker to know that this was record attendance.
Record attendance.
So what you're telling me is that next year when I'm planning the layout and we're planning the pig roast, that we should go ahead and get a mod DJ for the FEMA camp.
No, I disagree entirely. Why?
Let it happen
Because
organically, man.
we have 2 sources of entertainment. Whether you want taking rubber in your face, I mean, getting blasted with somebody else's
Careful.
fuck. Kentucky Kickdown Corner.
If
You
like
wanna be the
taking it in
Chrome
the
boys.
face.
The Chrome Boys, the
Chrome
War
Boys.
Boys, standing behind a bike doing a hostile burnout.
With
not-
ski goggles on, just
with ski
taking
goggles
it.
on, just biting rubber out of the air.
Shiny
Again.
and chrome.
Or if you want to go down to Ripper's Row and have that live fucking metal punk rock show that was just going and going and going and going and
So
going.
what you're saying is we get Richard Cheese
I
to
don't
show
know,
up
man.
next
Me
year.
and John.
No,
we
you
had-
don't.
And we
Okay.
had acoustic corner in the side. We played for 3 hours or 4 hours.
I promise you guys, bring your guitars, right? Do
That's
that
true.
thing because they're going to shut down at midnight because you know what? Nobody at this point wants to get their privileges for next year taken away.
Exactly.
Even when somebody comes up and he goes, they shut down the barrel racing. And I'm like,
okay.
they didn't shut down the barrel racing. It got crazy.
Yep.
They said, please don't. And then a few hours later,
Hey,
Some
looky
guys
there.
went-
There's 2 barrels out there. Let's go around those.
we should just go around those 2 barrels.
You know, and I think one of the things that could happen, and I think this would help the AMA continue to let us be as stupid as we are, is that as people get accustomed to this event, and as you become an elder in the event, if you've been there for 5 or 6 years, you understand what goes on and what would help the event grow. maybe some self-moderation down at the thing. Like if there's 5 little kids on pit bikes, maybe don't pull out the boat on wheels going 100 miles an hour.
Oh, I don't know. I
I
love the boat.
No, I love it, but I'm saying like use your head. Like there's
yeah.
times when like a lot of adults get in there and it's like carnage and stuff. That's fine. Like those are all 18 and over, 16 over people making their own decisions. But when there's like an 8-year-old girl on a 110 and some
Right.
dude's like ripping next, it's like, come
Right.
on, man.
I will say this, and it was probably the biggest I've ever seen. I mean, you couldn't squeeze another trailer or motorhome in there. As crazy as the Kentucky corner gets, I didn't hear anything happening like accidents.
No, they try to keep. I mean,
As crazy as it gets, the drinking and burnouts and all that stuff, you hear an accident about some old man in like the swap meet. I
Right.
watched a guy on a homemade bar stool racer or whatever, and I don't know,
Eat it.
he's fucking around. He ate it and cracked his head open. The paramedics were right there. They rushed him out. Like, that was the thing. I mean, you'd heard the ambulances here and there, but you can't have 50, 60,000 people and not expect someone's going to wipe out on some gravel
dude,
or
you could
something
have
like
a
that.
60,000 person knitting convention and somebody's going to poke their eye out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there was a
In
lot
the
of
whole
people
thing.
I heard, and even heat exhaustion was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys, it was just frigging hot.
That happened to me on Sunday. I was packing up, and we helped load the FEMA camp up, and then I went up to put my last bike away into this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm putting it on the trailer, and I got that like real sweaty feeling and shit.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I gotta go.
Oh, yeah.
Cold sweats or
Yeah.
whatever. Did you have the meat sweats? That was what it was?
Yeah. I don't eat meat, but I sure put a lot in my mouth, huh?
That's not what
We're
that's not what
sitting
Phil
around.
said.
I'm sitting around having my 238th cigarette for the weekend, having my 43rd cocktail. On Sunday, we've got our exit strategy down to the point where Unky Phil tells the crew,
Yeah.
"Be back here at 3 p.m."
Yeah.
And they just can go fuck off and do whatever they want.
What time did you leave?
We started the teardown at 3 p.m. By 4:02, we were loaded and rolling.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because many hands make light work. Everybody listened to instructions, and I've had made it very clear because of 25 years. But we heard you dump your bike. We heard you try to jump your truck.
Yeah. Tried to jump. Kind of missed it.
There was an evil Knievel bail at the last second. Nope, not going to make it.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what the fuck? And we turned around, and it wasn't too bad.
No, wait a minute.
And but we were like, oh yeah, we better settle down because it is real word direct sunlight, hot. But we've been there years when there's been a 73 mile an hour wind cut through that place and move every pop up
Oh, yeah.
west.
Yep.
Right. We've also been there years when it never stopped raining.
Right.
And we've also been there years where it went from 110 blistering sun to monsoon and then back to 110 again. Right.
With 100,000% humidity.
And this was the first year where from the moment we showed up until the moment we left, it was just perfect.
Oh, it was
perfect. Yeah.
I could have had a few more clouds.
I will say this,
The
though.
entire weekend was great.
Where
Well,
you guys were,
we had shade.
you guys
Yeah.
were like behind the wind.
Yes.
Where all the dust from the barrel racing was blowing
Yeah.
this way, and you guys didn't see any
That's
of that.
not
dust.
an accident.
No, it's not.
That took 20 years of figuring it out.
Yeah, you didn't see any of that dust.
But
our old
if
camp
people
was not
if
so good,
people
yeah.
drive on the road, Ross Road next to us a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So we got lucky that there was not a lot of traffic because the one year there was something going on. And people
So
kept running
last
down.
year that road was under repair. It was
Right.
gravel.
Now
This
it's
year it's
asphalt.
tar and chip.
Right.
It just has a lot of
Yeah.
chip on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The funniest part, I'm not going to lie, was watching when we were packing up, was watching Sleepy and Bob
Yes.
trying to figure out how to fit my new FEMA tent back into its packaging.
You don't ever do that.
And I was coming in and I was gonna help them out, and then Bob and Sleepy took over, and I went, you know what? I'm gonna sit back, I'm gonna enjoy my beverage and watch them do it.
And what happened? Your tent's in the bag.
And it's in
put
the
away
bag.
perfectly?
It's perfect.
Exactly.
You
Went
all,
ahead.
Exactly
It
right.
took y'all some twisting and turning. but
Well,
y'all
no,
figured
because
it out.
we had a disagreement. I told him that the feet have to go into the hard part.
Yeah,
He didn't think that was right, and
It's
so we
fine.
did it his way, and then ended up I was right. So then we had to redo it.
Yep.
I don't ever, when everybody's like, hey, Phil, where's the bags for your giant tents? I'm like, no, they're
Yeah.
back at the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
just
going to
throw them in there.
just put them in the van.
Get 'em
in.
Put them in the trailer. We'll deal with that shit later.
Yeah.
So who you got there?
So here we got up here on the screen right now. These are our friends Patrick and Eric. Patrick and Eric, Patrick McNamara, Patio Furniture.
Oh, Patio Furniture.
Patty, these guys truly do show up to play. Some of our guests at the campsite that just ruck up with an SSR, and they just love the whole weekend.
Oh, yeah.
From the moment they show up until the moment they leave. These guys absolutely are doing Mid-Ohio right.
You know who also
I
won
love
Mid-Ohio?
that. Yeah.
Who was the firefighter and his sister?
So that was Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
From Virginia.
Norfolk.
From Norfolk.
Yeah, yeah.
Norfolk.
Yep. So Mike came in, he worked at the shop on Wednesday.
Yep.
Not joking.
With Jake.
So Jake and him showed up Wednesday morning. He showed up on his BMW. Jake showed up in an airplane. Jake stayed at one of our finer hotels on Brook Park Road across from Pinky's.
Oh, nice.
Travelodge.
I know that place.
You do know that place.
They charge him per hour.
By the hour, yep.
And so they both showed up at the shop and they were like, hey, man, we just want to help out. We love the podcast.
Sure.
We just want to do our things. Jake's from the Misfits podcast. Sure. Mike's a huge podcast listener. So I was like, fuck it. We got bikes to prep. You guys seem to know your way around.
Yeah, help us out. Help us out. Let's go.
And so I got all my tools set up, and I was
There's
just
one
like,
thing we love at the shop. It's called free labor.
free labor.
That's true.
And these guys were just on it, and I loved it because they were both diving in and they were both helping out. And we had a great time. We were rocking the neighborhood, going on gas runs at the most extreme speeds possible.
Well, and the thing about Mike is
No helmets, no license plates.
When you look at Mike, you're like, that dude's a fireman because
Yes.
he has the most glorious mustache
He
I've
does.
ever seen in my entire life.
If you're going to be a fireman, you have to have a glorious
And he
mustache.
does. It is beautiful.
I like this
Beautiful.
polyester suit later on in the day.
Pete's has gone to a full beard at this point because of retirement.
That's right. There you go. That's what happens.
It's actually not a beard. It's just his mustache. He just
His mustache is
so long.
Yep. So Timmy Clifton, I don't know if you guys remember Tim Clifton. Clifton showed up on an Orange Buddy with a homemade Star Wars biker scout helmet.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah, I remember that.
And here's another guy. If there's ever an argument that needs to be made for why the Buddy scooter is the world's perfect Mid-Ohio transportation system.
You know what?
It's
Yeah.
because I think he put 280 miles on it that weekend,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
I
he
mean-
loved it.
I mean, I rocked mine all weekend, and
Yep.
you're right.
Yeah.
Because we were like, yeah, the Buddy, because I've got those weird I've got the Heidenau
Everything tires?
60/40 every tires.
Everything tires.
And I think it handled it better than anything else this weekend.
If you think you're going to show up with like a BMW 1250 GS and cruise the swap meet with it, you're sadly mistaken. You know what I'm saying? A Buddy definitely can get you everywhere in that place.
Anywhere
And
you need to
even in the
go.
trails and the hill climb, you can get up there. You
I mean,
know?
I literally have the equivalent of the what are the TK tires? The big
TKC
knobby-
80s, yeah.
TKC,
Yeah.
I literally have the Heidenau version of the 3.5 10s on my Buddy, and it literally would. It's a billy goat at this point.
It really is. I promise you that there's just something about, and it's funny too because Patrick came up and he's like, "Hey, you got a cheap Buddy you'll sell me?" And I had brought one that was lightly stolen,
yeah.
but had a title, but the ignition was a suggestion.
Yeah.
And hardware store ignition in it.
I literally had to bypass it because you were like,
It was working great for weeks and weeks and
put
weeks, and all
a
of a
house
sudden,
light switch on it
Oh, yeah.
to say on and off.
at Mid-Ohio, it just stopped working.
They couldn't figure it out.
We were like, okay, let's throw a battery at it. So Wendy, High Miles Wendy, she put a battery in it and whole deal. They're just trying to do the nice stuff. She's a certified high-end motorcycle mechanic. So she's trying to do everything right. And I'm like, Tom, what the fuck? And he comes over and he's just like, he pulls the nose off the Buddy and does what?
I pulled the ignition out. So for those of you at home,
He unplugged the Molex.
the Buddy.
Yeah, let's not
The
get too
Buddy-
in depth because then
Right.
we can use this to steal Buddy.
Exactly,
I got all the
right.
information
No,
from
that's the
Cleveland Moto.
problem.
Kids, don't do this at home.
I
Do not.
Kids,
We're
do not
warning
do
you.
this at
All right.
This is a warning. Don't
This
do
is
this.
a warning. Do not do this.
Do not engage the
but
cocking lever.
Here's how to bypass the ignition.
If you decide you have lost your key to your Buddy and you are at a bar,
An
and need to
emergency
get
use only.
home,
Yep.
Right.
What you do is you take the nose off. It is exactly 3 Phillips screws. Right.
Unless you have the rack in the front, then it's
When you exactly,
Yes.
and then once you take that off, you unplug the ignition. Just unplug it. Take the little clip and just unplug the
The
whole
parts
thing.
that don't work don't matter.
And then you kickstart the bike, and you know what? It will start.
Yeah. And then your kill switch on the handlebars, your emergency shutoff switch, becomes your ignition.
Exactly.
wow.
Yeah.
So like they literally were
Pro gamer
They
move.
were fighting this thing for like an hour.
No.
Fresh battery.
They just put a
They were
battery
trying
in
to
it.
figure out. They had the multimeter out. And I walk and Phil walks over and he goes,
Yeah.
what the hell's wrong with this thing? And I unplugged the ignition.
He was like, I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to break it a little bit more. Right. So,
And
this is not repairing anything.
This is literally 20 years of living in New
Just
Orleans
breaking
with
it.
broken buddies.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty
It
great.
is the most. Now, this does not work for the 170i
Nope.
at all.
No,
because
not at all.
because the guy you sold the brown on brown, he comes over and he's like, I can't get it to start. He says it'll crank over with the starter all day long.
Right,
I said,
but it won't catch. Yeah.
So take the battery out of the red buddy over there. They just put a brand new battery in and stick it in your buddy.
Oh my God.
And you know what? It works because the 170i has to have a 13 1 volt.
It needs
It needs all of it.
11.9999 will not do it.
So
it's like a Triumph. It needs 12.00001 volts. Otherwise, it is not going to party.
All the volts.
Yeah, it is not going to party. Yeah, it was
Like,
pretty.
I can't get it to start. I said, just go take the new battery.
Just go pull a new battery. That's exactly right.
So did anybody
Stick
buy
this in
anything?
your
yeah,
plug.
yeah, we sold some shit.
No, buy.
No, did you buy?
No, fuck no. No.
Did anybody here buy anything?
Anyone? Raise your hand if you bought something in Mid-Ohio.
Nope.
I bought one little mini bike and some parts. That's
Wow,
about
for
it.
you, that's saying
impressive.
something.
Well, I mean, more or less, I keep for weeks leading up, and there was all these different Facebook pages. What are you bringing to Mid Ohio?
Right.
Or
Yeah, it's
the
always a
AMA,
big
the
deal.
Mid
Yep.
Days page, and everything. You see these guys listing these gigantic collections. I'm bringing all this. This bike's 3,000. This one's 4,000. This one's 5,000, and just one after another, like all these guys just going, "Yep, I'm bringing this. I'm going to make $1 million." It's
Yep.
like, I knew right away, you guys are going home with everything you brought,
Exactly.
unless you're willing to deal. So one of the guys, Brian Epp,
Yep.
Brian Epp, yeah, right.
Brian,
I talked to him before Mid Ohio, went over his house, looked at some of his stuff, and I was like, yeah, I know some people are looking for this, da-da-da-da. He took everything. He sold everything because he was willing to deal. A lot of his stuff ran. There was a lot of guys that I noticed, they were asking the eBay prices and the bring a trailer prices. Unless you had like a running bike that was a decent, price.
Yep.
You were going home with it.
Right.
I bought one mini bike. It was $80, and it was a bike that I had been looking for like 15 years. One of the ones that slipped through my fingers, and you couldn't find this model. No one was selling one. They're just a rare model, and I found
was
it. So Cat mini bike, Cat Endura HPE mini bikes, they made different models, like from the 300X up to the Dominator, the Slingshot, all these. The Eliminator, I've had them all. And the one that got away, it was a Cat Endura, little 6-inch wheels, 4-horse Tecumseh, little fiberglass seat base, had front and dual suspension, a torque converter built into the frame, little coffin tank in the front. And maybe like 15 years ago, I had seen one on Craigslist when I was still doing Craigslist. And it was 5 hours away up in Michigan, and it was $450, all original with the clutch cover. And I was like, 5 hours one way, I'll find another one. And 15 years later, I found one for $80 that was like completely
$80
destroyed. But I mean,
Who cares?
The frame was nice. The tank was there. That was the big deal, is that the tank was there. And the guy that was selling it, nice old gentleman. He had a couple other mini bikes he asked me about and said, I don't really know what this one is. I don't know what this is worth. And as he's asking me, this other guy comes up behind me and goes, hey, well, how much you want for that?
Yeah.
And I just kind of turned around and went like this. And I gave him the whole 200. 200. And the guy goes, yeah, that's 250,
Right.
Yeah, I said, hey, it's got the original motor. It's a Ward's 525 with the big block, the lighting coil in it. That's money right there. The original wheels, all this stuff. It was rough, but he sold all of his stuff, and a nice old man and everything. I told him I was looking for that Cat. But I mean, there was guys that had these delusions of grandeur that they were going to come out there like millionaires.
But I'll say this though, man. So like when all the years ago to Mid Ohio, if I was going to buy something, if somebody had it marked at 2,000, your opening bid's 1,000, and then you go back and forth, and you probably get it for 14 or 15, right?
Right.
This year, like I'm sitting there and I had bikes fairly well priced, but they were like compared to the other bikes there, like these were like almost museum quality bikes compared to the shit, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I was asking fair prices, and dudes would be like, nothing, like whatever.
Yeah.
Then the next day, I finally talked to the guy. He's like, well, I mean, I'd probably be into it for 18, and you're asking 2.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
your mouth.
sure,
Yeah.
sure, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, let's go
yes,
with that number.
the answer is yes.
Like, what part of this are you not getting?
Pull
Like,
out the cash
That's
now.
what I want.
Yeah.
You want to buy it for this.
Right.
You mention that,
Yeah.
and then we talk about it.
Hey, Phil.
Yes.
Last year, there were these small children that came up to you, and they were talking to you about a bike that you had.
Oh, and you taught them.
And you taught them how
just
to
had
haggle. How to haggle.
I had an education.
And I think the problem, Sleepy just hit on something here. I think the problem is our society now doesn't know how to haggle.
They don't.
I think when they see the OBO, they're like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
What is
literally-
OBO?
I wrote or best offer, and then I
yeah.
put in giant.
You have to
And
write it out
offer.
or best offer, like really big.
Historically, I have got, because, for example, a couple of years ago, I had a couple of bags, BMW bags at Barber.
A couple
In the
bags
swap
of
meet.
Coke,
A couple of bags of cocaine. Yeah.
Well,
and I had like $200, a $200 price tag on it.
Yeah.
And this guy comes up, oh, no, I'd never pay that. And I said, well, cool. What
would you pay? Yeah.
And he goes, well, I'd give you $90 for it. And I went, sold.
Sold.
Well, that was easy.
And he literally looked at me and went, motherfucker.
Yeah, now I
And
gotta
went,
buy 'em.
This
Yeah.
is how haggling works. This is,
Right.
Exactly.
I go high, but if you give me 75% of what I'm asking for, you might just hit.
On the other hand, though, there was so many people that brought stuff and similar stuff. Like I'm telling you right now, the CT70s. Oh my God, these guys are out of their friggin' minds.
yeah.
They made hundreds of thousands of those things,
Yeah.
and everyone that has collections right now are dumping those things
Yeah.
in droves. Believe it or not, that's what I traded my CBR for.
Right.
The CBR you saw today.
Yeah.
I had a beautiful 1970 emerald green 4-speed CT70H,
Exactly.
original Nitto tires,
Yep.
original grips, original levers, original cables. Speedometer had 3,000 miles on it, but the paint was original. The seat was original. Everything worked, and it ran like a Swiss clock.
Yeah.
Just went through the gears, everything, not a ticking noise, nothing. It started right up on the first kick. I couldn't sell that thing for $4,000.
No.
And years ago, that'd be $6,000-$7,000.
I know.
And now guys, they think they're worth $10,000-$20,000. It's not
Well,
happening.
here's the problem, I think, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. This is just my opinion, but I think what it is that so we all probably started collecting bikes like well, you don't count because you've probably been collecting forever, but the rest of us maybe 15, 20 years, like slowly picking them up, whatever. And now we've had this value and stuff, but I don't think the new kids give a shit.
No.
Like the bikes that we like aren't even fucking on their radar. They're like more interested in the 90s stuff.
They kind of
you know?
care if it's running and they can,
If it's cheap and they can fuck
cheap
with it,
and
yeah,
fuck with
right.
it, yeah.
But nobody's like, I'm going to buy no 25-year-old kid is like, I'm buying a $5,000 Trail 70 and putting it in the garage and not
Yeah,
touching
that's
it.
old white man territory.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Phil, we have a thing, both of us have talked about this. This is the Cushman effect.
Right.
So old white men that are 10 years older than Phil and I bought all of the Cushmans.
Yeah.
And Dan and I actually talked about this before the podcast. So every Cushman suddenly became $6,000. Didn't matter if it was an Eagle, and oh my God, an Iron Eagle, and oh my God, an Eagle that had an electric start, all the bullshit.
Yeah.
And so kids our age couldn't afford Cushmans.
Right.
We didn't care.
Right.
But all the 70-year-old men now have like 1,000 Cushmans in their garage. And they're aging out.
Right.
I'm going to take an issue with that. So that statement is entirely true 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now all those men are 80, which
No.
means they've been dead for 4 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this becomes a thing where now the Cushmans are diving.
There's no, in our community, there is a group called the Lorain County Vintage Motorcycle Club or Lorain County Vintage Motor Scooter Club.
Yep.
And there's maybe 10 of the original 150 members that are still there. And all 10 or 15 of those original members have full fucking garages
Yeah.
of perfectly restored Vanguard powered V-twin Cushman Eagles, Silver
Oh, yeah.
Eagles, what have you, doesn't matter. And the trailers that are fully Cushman laid out.
Yeah.
And the RVs that pull them.
Yeah.
Because those folks said, I want this to go to somebody in my club who's going to appreciate it. But due to the carp theory, and that is the carp hang out low and they get whatever makes it to the bottom, right? Due to that principle, a lot of these guys who have these Cushmans honestly can't be asked. And they're now in their 50s, 60s, and 70s or worse, and their children don't want them.
Yep.
Right.
So they get hit, they find their way to eBay, they find their way to Craigslist, they find their way to whatever. I can tell you from my own personal history, from being in that club and that group for over 25 years, that a bike that I know I saw change hands for over $12,000 just recently, not 6 months ago, couldn't pull $4,000.
Oh, absolutely.
3 owners later.
Yeah, because who
Absolutely.
wants them now?
It's all cyclical. So these
is.
guys that you're talking about, when they grew up in the 50s, 60s, whatever, they lusted after those
They
bikes.
did. Yep.
And then when they got the means to be able to afford them,
Right.
they bought them, and they bought all of them that they could
Yep.
find.
Yep.
And now our generation maybe grew up on, Honda Mini Trails or CT70s.
Exactly.
So it went through a phase where people were going ape shit for those.
Yep.
And then maybe another 10 years, these young kids are going to be going ape shit for like early Groms or something.
Exactly.
Well, dude, that's the thing.
It's all cyclical. And when that market tops out, which is what we're seeing with the Cushmans now,
Yep.
like you said, nobody's lining up to buy them. There's more quality Cushmans available than there are.
2 words for you guys. Coleman mini bikes.
Coleman mini bike. God
Stock them up in the next 12 years. Those
God
are going to be big, gigantic money.
bless the gamblers.
The funniest part I've seen has been all of it because I saw this in New Orleans.
You are aware you can buy that new for $648, right?
So the moped kids all got into like Honda Hobbits with the variators and yada yada, and like got real big into mopeds because
Yeah.
we didn't,
Yeah.
and they were cheap. And then they skipped ahead to the Sportster 883s because they are cheap as you can possibly get a motorcycle, and they're the closest thing you can get to a moped on 2 wheels that's bigger than a 50cc or 70. And it's been funny watching this progression of kids that went, well, I'm not really into the Vespas, but I'm totally into a Vespa Chow or a Bravo or a Honda Hobbit or a PA50 or something like that. And then they went, I want something bigger. Sportsters are cheap as shit. And they become this whole school. They went from basically moped, throw a kid on it, Hollywood Holt stuff to, well, Sportsters are a totally approachable vehicle.
I mean, but think about it though. It's not bad. You're going you can go anywhere on a Sportster.
Absolutely.
It's fairly easy to fix. And I'm finding out now, even with Phil's Harley, that parts are cheap as shit.
And that's
Like-
kind of been the appeal because for years I've been personally like, who the hell would buy this thing? And then I've seen the people who are buying it now because they are literally cheap and cheap to fix. And I've been going, that's absolutely the person that should buy this bike.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
What's the biggest problem in this country that bigger is better? Right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
everyone
this is
says
the whole world.
bigger is better.
Yep.
I've talked to so many people, and
Unless you're at AMA Vintage Days.
at Vintage Days, I'm riding around my SL70 that
Right.
I put a 90cc Piranha motor in it. Right? I love that thing. I had guys going, "Oh, is that the 120?" And when I was down at the Skid Mark tent, I had guys taking pictures of it because they go, "How did you squeeze that motor in there?" I go, "What do you mean?" They
It's
go,
not squeezing.
I got, did you have to take the
It's-
head off because I got a 125? It won't fit in that frame
Right.
because the SL70 where the down tubes are, you
yeah.
can't squeeze the motor in it. There's this little side plate that comes off of the frame that you take off for the little 70cc motor. It fits right in there. 125 is way bigger jug and head, so you have to kind of shave it down a little bit. But I just put a 90 in there, and it's great. Everyone thinks bigger is better, and sometimes it's like I tell people, guys, if you're building a CT70, a Z50, a SL70, or something, just put a 90 in it, and tell me that it's not enough.
And you'll be totally happy.
You know, these guys that are like, I want a 1.4, I want a Daytona 190. You can't keep the wheel down, and you're going to rip the bearings.
What?
Do you know how small the axle is on those things?
Yep, I blew
You're
up
gonna
a-
bend the axle right out of that freaking frame.
I blew up a cush strap one time on a
But
50.
I think what we're seeing though, from looking at all this, is all the guys that thought that they were going to collect 600 bikes
Right,
and
right,
retire
right.
and sell all of them. That's over, man. Bring a trailer and stuff has given people false hopes,
Right.
and false value. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to know, I don't care what Bring a Trailer says or Meekum or anything. If you want to see what a real value of a bike is, stick it in front of 60,000 people and see
Right.
if it sells at the
Right,
price that
right,
you put
right.
it at.
Yep.
Well,
Absolutely.
I have a guy, his name's Ed. He comes down to his shop all the time, and he's looking around. He goes, "Do you know how much money you got here? If you started selling all your stuff, you could sell this, you could sell that." And I said, "Listen,
I'll put you in charge of that.
listen, dude." I said,
Here we
"Listen,
go.
dude." I said, "I use all this stuff. I all these motors you see that I've built, they're going in a bike that I have over on the shelf over there. Like, I'm into this. I go to every frigging show there is. I plan ahead every year. I go to every show. I ride every bike that I have. I'm not in this for the dollar, which there's a lot of guys that don't even know how to turn a wrench.
Right.
You know, and they have a collection of CT70s or Z50s, and they're like, I'm going to, you know, retire on this. And it's like,
hey, Phil,
I don't know.
do you know how much money you're sitting on?
Nope.
Well, his wallet's on his other side. So.
No. I mean, when I walk, I literally walk into the
garage.
back of the shop, and my wallpaper are Rally 180s and Rally 200s.
Right.
Like that's my wallpaper in my room.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
oh look, it's a Rally 180. Oh look, it's a Rally 200.
it's taken me 35 years. And over 35 years, I've gone through several phases where I was like, hey, look, it's a Vespa. I'm going to buy it and rescue it and then do nothing with it for 12 years.
Yeah.
So fuck it, liquidate it. So now it's turned into like liquidate all the ones that don't mean anything to me and then just buy the Super Sport 180s, the SS 180s, the GSs, and the rallies that I absolutely love.
Yes.
And so now I've got like, 12 or 13 of them, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing was I never bought anything with the idea of like, this is going to make me rich someday.
Right.
I was more buying it like, okay, this is a project I'm going to complete when I'm 173 years old. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's it.
When I finally get time to do it.
What I wanted to talk about with this is one of the Marshall and Luke are these two fellas that showed up. They're listeners. They showed up in our campsite. Marshall,
I like him.
I'm just going to say it this way.
Is that
He runs a cancer research foundation.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
He has at least 17 letters after his name.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay?
Awesome dude.
Fucking amazing guy. And his dad, like the stories about his dad raising them and like this whole agriculture mindset and just not afraid to get his hands dirty. Mm-hmm. And his buddy Luke bought my fucking Malaguti F10 whap, 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 whap. That thing would do wheelies, 49cc. That's how you get the job done.
Bring a bucket, a mop, and $500, and you get the
$600. $600 bucks. Wheelies hard, and by the way, 600 miles on it.
And it's his fault I got my new bike. I
Right.
talked to him for
You
5
talked to him
hours.
for
about
5 hours.
fucking- Yeah.
Exactly. So we're in the podcast, and by the way, we recorded one of the shit hottest, best podcasts I'd ever recorded in my life, and I'm proud to say that. We got the crowd involved. We had Shannon. She's sitting in the front. She's a extremely super skilled motorcycle mechanic.
Because everybody, that was
we got
audience
Wendy in the front
participation
row
up the
who's
ass.
ridden 90 million miles on an FJR.
The guys over here that I
Right.
kept going back to. You kept going back to with the DR650.
We had
and, like
the audience arguing over which bike was better, and that's when
Absolutely.
I'm in my heaven. I'm just like, step back,
because
Right.
Liza
throw
kept,
in grenade, walk back.
Liza kept trying to commit and control the thing. I'm like, no, the audience is in this.
Your
this
top
is,
10
we're
list
done.
shall not stand.
Oh
No, I had a shit hot audience. And by the way, all the AMA people were like, you know that you had more people in the audience for your bullshit podcast than we had for the induction ceremonies, the Grand Poobah speech, all the stuff.
And almost every single one of them came by, and brought ice, and dropped off.
I
food,
signed a guy's
and
t-shirt.
dropped off booze.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah,
you
it was
guys doing the
crazy.
podcast over in the
I signed
infield?
some guys. I
Yeah.
signed some guys' tits.
Right.
Whoa. So
Yeah, but that was after the bar, after
That's
the whole
true.
event, so that's a whole different
One
thing.
of the topics
in the-
that
one
we
of the porta-johns.
discussed, right? One of the topics that we discussed was
with the strange hole in the side.
Exactly.
is your what is your up the butt bike for AMA Vintage Days? What's
Right.
the bike, as Liza and the Misfits say, it's your up the butt bike. It's the bike
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
really
yeah.
want more than anything else.
Yep.
But what's your up the bike here that you're hoping to find that you've been looking for
I
a
hope
long
she found the dragster.
time? Well,
that one?
Marshall Taylor says, I want a Honda TLR 250.
Yeah.
Good bike.
I want a Honda TLR 250.
The Reflex.
That, and a TLR 200 was the Reflex.
Oh, so
Right.
the 250.
So this was the spicier version that didn't get the press.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. It didn't get the cool commercial.
Because
in
Mac
1985
was
or
on a
whatever.
reflex all weekend.
I'm going to tell you guys a little about this.
Yeah.
So Marshall goes on in the podcast about the bike he really wants to own. We do the podcast. By the way, the podcast, I hope you were there. Because the guy that AMA paid to record it
Oh God.
Didn't record it?
only recorded Liza's mic
I see.
after 3 sound checks.
Well, no, on top of that, he had to show me and Bagel, who Bagel, of course, would be the ultimate person to show this. He was like, hey, let me show you guys something. We're like, okay, what do you got? He pulls out his phone. He's like, hold on a minute. That's when I was on tour with Tesla.
He was.
You mean Elon Musk?
No, the band. And
He was-
and he goes,
Striper?
wait, and then
Tesla and Striper?
he goes, look at them titties.
You know,
And then, Bagel, like me and Bagel are like, okay. And then he flips to another one. And at this point, Bagel is getting like physically disgusted at this dude. Right? And I'm just kind of like, I'm not happy with the guy.
If
but
your
I'm like,
name's
what-
John and you did the audio for AMA Vintage Days 2024, you can get right in line for a throat punch.
Like-
Because one, multiple sound checks later, we all go live, and every time somebody speaks up, hey, introduce yourself.
Well, you-
And
No
by
mic.
hold on.
Yeah.
I'm going to get there.
No, but no mic.
But on tonight's episode, when I said to my left is, you could hear Dan Kromke.
Right. Not there.
And I went the whole way around the room, and we all got heard. And Sleepy did a stealthy fucking sound check while we were just bullshitting.
yeah.
This dude did the full, weapons grade sound check
Yeah.
more than once. And, then after all that, every single time we'd introduce somebody, mic not work, mic no work.
Check this out too.
Yeah.
So technically, like right now, if I have to adjust something, it's
Right.
ready to go.
Of course.
So he set up, and the board that he has no knobs or buttons on
Right.
it. It is just inputs.
Simple.
And you're supposed to have a dedicated iPad and or computer hooked up to
To
it that you
control it,
walk
yep.
around,
Yep.
and then you can go out into the audience and
Right.
if you
Play
get
that game.
feedback, you can do
Right.
it. He decided that it would be better. Well, he already has a phone.
Right.
So why have a dedicated anything?
So
I'll
when
just
your
have my
phone times out,
or you're on a call or texting somebody, and it's
the
no
app shuts off.
Right.
Because the app is not running in the
Right.
background.
So hey, I can't hear Dan. Hold on a second. Let me
Right.
get out of Pornhub and go over and
Yeah,
find
no
the
shit.
Yeah.
So none of it
Right.
was
Yeah.
recorded.
Oh, that guy was a chode.
And I think it's our 4th or 5th year that we've done a podcast there that brought at least 80 people into the
Oh,
audience.
yeah.
And this dude single-handedly screwed the pooch.
I can't believe Liza didn't kill him.
Well,
Oh,
No, she probably did.
it's not over yet. So Liza didn't know she'd been fucked
Yeah.
until she got back to my house
God.
with the thumb drive.
and all she heard was her.
And all she
my
heard was
God.
her.
Oh my God.
And her mic was faintly picking up me
Yep.
side stream because I'm loud.
yeah.
Yes, you.
But
are.
everybody else, it's no bueno.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And all my crowd work, giving people the mic in the audience, well, none of that came through.
Right.
So the podcast is
that
totally
was,
useless.
That was a pretty. I'm not gonna lie. That was a pretty stellar live cast. Not gonna lie.
You guys didn't record it separate?
No, 'cause it
No,
goes
nobody
through their
brought a
shit.
Boy Scout because
Oh,
the
no.
god of audio engineering provided by AMA.
and he
Vintage
was
Days.
totally like,
he's-
oh no, I am really.
And
good
by the
at
way,
this.
he's out of the capital, Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
So Eliza had to force him to bring extra mics because they only showed up with half as many. Anyway,
I just got off a tour with Luke Combs.
Hey,
so
let me show you this picture of me on Kenny G's tour bus.
exactly.
So anyway, and that's why now in the future the Boy Scout is going to be alive.
Yeah,
and
well, how about this?
We're always going to bring the Boy
How
Scout.
about they just let us do our own sound? And
That
I'll-
was always
and
my
I'll
thing.
give them
Right,
two
right.
outputs,
I have Zoom. I have an HB8.
yeah.
Yeah, why
so
wouldn't
we
you
can
just
have
do that?
8 mics.
and then just give
I
them
already
outputs.
own it.
Here's our output. You
so
can plug that into
I
whatever
could've
you fucking want.
brought it.
Yeah,
So
we can
to
do that next
sum
year.
up the entire live podcast, the best motorcycle you can possibly ever have to go touring around the United States of America is a V-Strom.
No, DR650, I thought we said. Nah, we're equal on that
I
one.
know.
Okay, the audience is divided. So anyway, after Marshall Taylor says, oh, the bike I want more than anything else is a TLR 250.
FJR.
Wendy wins because she actually fucking did it.
Oh,
So
right.
honestly, if your dick is bigger than Wendy's, right?
Nah, she got a
if
pretty- she got a
you've
pretty
done
big dick.
more miles than she did whilst running a motorcycle shop,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
wrenching on
No,
bikes,
she's got it.
if you think you bring more to the party than she does, I'm waiting, right? Because she's run the tits off of 7 FJR
know,
1300s,
right?
right? So, and her bike's in the museum, so
Right.
yay. Okay.
Anyway.
we come back to the campsite. Okay, great, cool. Let's go back to the campsite. La-di-da-di-da-di. Comes around the corner. Meckel Fresh on that bike.
Yes.
Really?
So
Yeah.
Meckel Fresh is borrowing one from somebody who
Okay.
just fucking bought it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's Marshall Taylor like, you mother,
Where'd you get that?
Must buy bike now.
Yeah, right.
Rah. And he goes in it. But meanwhile, the guy itself just bought it.
Yeah.
And he's just super happy to have it. He's super plussed. But so Mid-Ohio is the place where you can say, this is the bike I want.
Sure.
More than anything else in the world.
Sure.
And the gods of Mid-Ohio will conjure that shit up for you. Not fucking 5 minutes after I said the bike I've been looking for at AMA Vintage Days for no shit 20 years is an Italjet Kit Kat.
Did you find one?
Folding Kit Kat.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm sitting there in the booth listening to Renee tell me how we just got robbed for $200 worth of merchandise at our
Right.
shop. There goes my profit margin.
Long story.
Anyway, as I'm on the phone with Renee, goes past the fucking booth, it goes past the fucking tent where we're recording. Italgia Kit Kat. And I was like, oh, fuck. I can't hang up the phone with Renee because that would be a bad boss, bad friend move.
Throw the phone at her.
She's venting. Right. She's venting from Cleveland. I'm here. And I'd want nothing more than to jump on my bike and chase yon fucker down and offer him money for that running Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Right? Because a Kit Kat's a folding scooter.
Yeah.
Italian folding scooter, which means the lights don't work. But yeah, I was just drove by. I don't know if it was for sale or not, but it's the first time I saw one, not 10 minutes after I said, that's the bike I want to
Yep.
buy.
That was funny.
And then we always joked about how the Cub EZ is the official.
Oh, that family full of Cub EZs that went.
Oh, yeah.
So I later went past their setup. They're a race team
Oh yeah.
in the pits.
They have to be.
And their entire race team
Has the
is
Easy
all
90s. Yeah.
logoed out, vinyl wrapped Easy
Yep.
90s
Yeah.
Yep.
that should just say, don't fucking ask.
The one
Right.
with the chrome wheels, man.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Very cool. But again,
Well,
that's
years
the
ago,
thing about-
no one wanted those things.
Exactly.
there was a
No
period
one
of
wanted it
time-
because, first of all, they're not street legal.
Yep.
There's no gears. There's
Yep.
no headlights, although you could put a light kit on it. But, like, those things, they're all plastic.
They're
You ever-
only cool at Mid-Ohio.
Have you ever seen one
And
that
that
just
was
doesn't have
that
any plastic
again.
on it? It just looks like a big scooter.
That
It's
is
a fucking
that is a
dumpster. It is,
callback
yeah.
to the podcast you're not going to hear is Phil.
Yeah.
What was your point? It's only cool at.
It's only cool at Mid-Ohio.
It's
And
only
we
cool
talked
at
about
Mid-Ohio.
that at the podcast
Right.
that
Exactly.
no longer exists.
Right, yeah, exactly. Honda Cub EZ90 in mint condition, $6,475.
They're crazy.
And you can have my Buscadero for $2,300, and it's so much better.
And I would tell you, this bike existed from 1991 to 1996. I was working part-time at a motorcycle shop when this came out. And when it showed up, I was like, wow, they found a way to nerf out. They literally found a way to de-stupidify. They made a bike for dumb people.
Well, I think there was a commercial
Yeah.
for these things where these guys, like professional riders, were like jumping them and they made them all look exciting. Like,
And they had a
"Oh, it's-
75-foot launch
Yeah,
ramp.
it's super light,
getting
and
up to it, yeah.
you could do anything. It's automatic. There's no gears. And as a kid, I remember seeing that thing, going, "Man, I really want one of those."
Yep.
You know, that's
Yep.
really cool.
Yeah.
I owned one, and guess what? I don't own it anymore. You know? I mean, it was cool. It was cool to say, and trust me, it was fun. But like you said, it's only fun at Mid Ohio
Yep.
because where else are you going to ride that thing unless you were in a race team and you need a pit bike or whatever?
Or if you're
Well,
on
see-
a video game.
This very thing that you're talking about is now my new passion. So like I got rid of all my vintage bikes because I got sick of fucking with them and just wanted to ride.
Yeah.
But now that leaves me time to create the just cool at Mid Ohio bike each year. You know what I mean? Like now I can fuck around with
Right,
the van
right,
van.
right.
I've been
I'm
doing
going
that
in.
for years.
I know you have, but see that's why
Well,
I
that's,
said now
you
I'm
know-
excited to just do that.
You know,
Like,
because
just fuck with stuff.
Because Becky's not a rider, and we kind of had to drive the car everywhere, and it sucked. I've been because you pulled up the boat earlier.
Oh, the boat. Yeah.
I have been thinking about what would be the ultimate three-wheeled vehicle that two people could reliably ride through Mid-Ohio. That's not just your average side-by-side or average golf cart.
Yeah.
Well, my buddy Bill, he's out in Kirtland, and he's old man, but he really nice guy. He actually has it almost looks like an old golf cart 3-wheel thing, and it says Old Blue on it, and it's just it's got a little Predator motor on it,
Yeah.
and it's maybe they look like they're smaller than golf cart wheels. It's a small little, but it's got a bench seat and a little hoop thing in the middle.
Yeah.
And for two people, that thing's perfect
Exactly.
for Mid Ohio.
And
You know?
that's-
it's
and-
smaller
and-
than a golf cart, though.
And I'm going to say it. So we go to Key West regularly, and they have the Tiki Bar boat.
Yeah, the boats, many of them. Yes.
Many of them. You can actually rent
many of
them.
them. Yeah.
You put your tiki stuff on it. You float around. Mm-hmm. And what I've been thinking about is getting a thatched gazebo and putting it on a golf cart
Yeah.
and driving around a tiki bar.
Okay.
I think that's my Mid Ohio ride next year.
I see.
Is a mobile.
Well,
tiki
you do
bar.
know that when you bring your own golf cart to Mid Ohio, you have to pay their fee.
Yes,
to use your own golf cart.
Right. That's. I mean,
Let us remind all the listeners that
Right.
There's fees
There's
for
a
everything.
golf cart rental that exists. And
You-
if
wait a
you
minute.
infringe upon their territory, thou shalt be taxed.
The golf cart rentals are all rented out before Mid Ohio even starts. You can't just go there on like a Friday or Saturday and be like, "Can I just rent a golf cart for today?" No,
For $450.
They're all gone by
right.
the beginning of the
So
event.
I'm thinking the actually, you know what? That MP3 we have moldering in the hallway.
Not a bad idea.
We build a tiki bar around it.
Not a bad idea. Probably the right thing that you're looking for is a product that already exists. As usual, if you think you came up with a great idea,
Oh,
somebody
there
got
it
there
is.
first.
Yes.
It's in fact the mobile picnic table / beer cooler
Yep.
/ whatever the slash you want to slash.
Yep.
Yeah. But
Yep.
that thing exists. It's on planet Earth already, and you can buy one if you want to. They're about $4,000 a pop, or you can just build one yourself if you're crafty.
Right.
But these are the items that many years ago, a fella showed up at our booth riding one of these contraptions with 6 of his friends. Right.
There's the pedal bars that have been around.
There's
for
pedal bars have been
ages.
around forever, but this particular one is battery operated.
Right.
It'd be a little hard to pedal around Mid Ohio on one of those things.
Especially with all that new gravel this year.
Oh, that gravel is
Okay.
perfectly hard packed.
I got the vehicle for you.
Uh-oh, Pete.
An
Yes.
Army Mule. Remember the Vietnam?
Oh yeah.
No, those are
No.
awesome.
Are you talking about a mule or a
Those are
mutt?
awesome. No, the
No,
mule.
it's a mule.
You kind of
Flat
sit in the
top
front.
steering
There's a little
wheel.
steering
It
wheel.
looks very similar to that.
Yeah, it's like a deck with wheels.
yeah,
So anybody who's
They're-
keeping track,
they're 4x4.
The vehicle is called
Yeah.
the United States Army M274, if I'm not mistaken. The M274 Mule. I have said no to buying 3 of these.
Oh, you're wrong for that.
No, I'm not because
No.
You're so wrong.
because
The Moto Guzzi.
If you have-
Moto Guzzi and Ducati both have had one too.
if you has an Army Mule, and there was still one of these at our barracks in Germany that was one of those things where it's like, nobody's allowed to know this is here. The Army officially made these illegal a long time ago. This is what it is.
Yep.
You're absolutely right.
Those are awesome.
The handlebar, I'm sorry, the steering wheel, the seat, and the place where you put your feet all fold under it.
Yeah.
And there is like a Kohler generator motor hiding in the middle of it.
It's like a platform on wheels.
It is a platform on
exactly.
wheels. That's what it's meant to do, is haul fucking arty shells or whatever.
That's
or mortars.
the radio flyer you wanted when you were a kid.
Well, wait a minute. If you look up, actually, this is one of my top secret builds. Look up Little Red Wagon go kart.
Yep.
Because there's these guys. I got a picture on my phone. These guys had done where they took like the Little Red Wagon with the Little Red.
Yeah.
Or
Little Red Express truck.
yeah.
Little Red Express.
And then they sit kind of like you're sitting on the mule in
Yeah.
front, and they got a little motor on the back. And I was going to build one of those for Mid Ohio. I just never got to run.
20 some years ago,
That's next year.
at one of the AMA Vintage Days, one of the first ones that was at the fair, at the racetrack, actually, there was a fella running around in one of those. And I was at a pretty low water mark in my buying power. And so my buddy Larry goes, Phil, that's what you need right there. Get one of those. And I was like, yeah, I do all the military. So I do military vehicle preservation association events. I'm a member of the MVPA. I go to all the stuff. And when you go to the MVPA, the only thing more popular than an M151 Mutt Jeep, right? Because there's a lot of those out there, is this thing. Because there were a shit ton of them after Vietnam, and in the mid 80s, they done got rid of them in a hurry because people were getting hurt on them in the motor pool.
Right.
As you can see, it does not have a low center of gravity
No.
or a good operator retention system.
Your legs are
But-
like the crush zone.
Yeah, exactly. And I
But-
think they got tired of E2s and E3s murdering themselves on these things, and the Army just said, make them all go away.
In the movie Maximum Overdrive, there was one of those with
With
the
an M60 on it.
The machine
Yeah,
gun.
it was an
on
M60, and it was
Yep.
completely self-firing.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Including self-aiming and self-driving.
Yeah, sure.
And it was like, that doesn't even work with hydraulics.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't even work with
What kind of
hydraulics.
engine did this thing have?
Like I said, it's like a Kohler
Kohler,
generator
yeah,
motor.
yeah.
Like a 2-cylinder Kohler generator motor, if I'm
But
not
it's
mistaken.
four-wheel drive.
But I believe it is MoGas. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
It'll go
It's-
anywhere.
don't get me wrong. It's a moon buggy. I'm not saying it's a terribly bad idea, but I said I've had the opportunity to buy 2 of them, and I took a pass on both of them. I also took a pass on a Gamma Goat. If you know what a Gamma Goat is, you are broken, and I can't help you. that was one of those vehicles that when I was a kid, Gamma Goat to me meant, oh, this is the best Army vehicle ever. We need to go get us a Gamma Goat right quick in a hurry. And then when I got to the military and started talking to older guys who had been in the Korean War conflict or been in Vietnam, they'd all kind of be like, no, dude, you want nothing to do with a Gamma Goat. I'll bring a picture of a Gamma Goat up so you can see one. I think it's probably better if it has the convertible top on it. Probably makes the image a little bit more. It probably resonates a little bit more with you. A little more off-putting. Yes, it is a series of squares. It's the only vehicle you can't really take the trailer off of so much. But yeah, when I saw my first Gamma Goat, I was like, I'm in.
Is that Smith driving that platform?
It might be Smith driving the platform. Yeah. But yeah, that's just one of those weird things where. The Army came up with some dumb shit. I'll be the first to admit it. They weren't all home runs.
What was the weirdest bike anyone's seen at Mid-Ohio?
Like actual bike or construction?
Well, either like people driving it around or for sale. I was just thinking about that. I saw some really weird bikes.
7-cylinder Kawasaki two-stroke.
Yeah,
I've
that
never.
That
there's-
ranks at the top of
I
the
think,
list.
I think the XS cylinder Kawasaki was the way to go.
The XS cylinder.
Let's not forget Bagel's Heinkel scooter.
The Heinkel shows up.
Well,
And I was like, well, Heinkel's ran from like 56 to 65 or whatever.
Yeah.
And his was a very late model swing arm front suspension, like an Earl's front suspension to Schwinge. And the fact that he brought that all the way from Belvita, Oregon.
Really?
So he could ride it around Mid-Ohio and do a lap of history on a Heinkel.
I still am glad I didn't, but kicking myself at the same time for not bringing the Tessie back.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's a good move.
I would have fallen on that grenade so hard, but
Really?
at the same time, I really don't want to have to deal with it.
No, I don't either. I think that a Tessie is one of those things that I've passed a few of them through my life and never regretred once seeing one of those disappear.
If I really wanted that bad, you've got a Heinkel hanging in the rafters.
Right. Yeah. There's better, weirder shit that exists. And a Tessie was just kind of like, that was Triumph going, hey, we can build a scooter too.
Right.
And it will suck just as much as all of
it's
our
not
other
even
stuff.
the pretty one. It was the ugly one.
It's an ugly bike. Yeah, it's an ugly fucking bike. That idea, though, the Army Mule,
Yeah.
the M274, a Gamma Goat, obviously a Gamma Goat's pretty fucking rad. But the thing with the Gamma Goat is you need a really giant fucking trailer to take that thing anywhere. It's the wrong side of 24 feet long, and it's hinged in the middle. It's articulated for no goddamn good reason. And they're like, oh, it's semi-amphibious, which means it'll float for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it drowns everybody on board.
Really good if you're crossing a small creek.
Oh, and it runs on gasoline too, which means one round and you're on fuego.
Oh, sure.
Right. And never trust a military vehicle that runs on gasoline. It's just a little tip from your Uncle Phil. Into the mailbag, as it were, or the sack.
Mail sack.
The mail sack.
How much hate mail?
No hate mail because
hate mail.
Mid-Ohio. Right? No hate mail because fucking Mid-Ohio.
Feel the love.
Feel the goddamn love. The love is real. I do not under any... Tim Clifton Stormtrooper just had to say I had another great year at Vintage Motorcycle Days, and the late night hanging with you guys and the Misfits never disappoints. Hope you are enjoying the bottle of rye, because he brought the Basil Haydens.
There you go.
I also wanted to share a video of Phil dancing around in my Scout Trooper helmet. We're not going to show that.
Whoa.
Keep on
That's
keeping
on
it.
OnlyFans.
And by the way, keep on keeping it weird, guys.
So
cheers. That's Tim from Baltimore.
That's
I think it was actually the Sagamore rye.
I think that you're right. It was a Sagamore rye. That's why
Patreon $20.
And that's why we have a sergeant of whiskey.
There we go.
All right. Having a sergeant of whiskey at the event is a goddamn good idea.
Don't forget about the weed monger.
Oh, indeed.
Well, okay. Brown liquor goes to Dan. Green weed goes to Sleepy, or
mushrooms,
or Bob,
or psilocybin.
Well,
right.
there's also Bob.
Okay, now, dark horse candidate. I was very happy to get this email from one of our listeners. Phil and crew, huge thanks to all of you for your hospitality at VMD 2024. Phil, you have fostered such a welcoming atmosphere surrounded by awesome people. We know. That's why we keep doing it. Sleepy keeping people high on happiness. Dan with an understated cool attitude. Johnny Mac making bikes run. Tom and Becky feeding everyone. All the rest between Cleveland Moto and the Misfits, who provided great conversation. Minty came with me for her first visit and enjoyed being able to just hang out and not feel pressured.
Oh, are these the guys?
We had a great time, and we will see you again next year. Josh Clark from Lebanon, PA.
Excellent.
He was awesome. I talked
These
to
are
him for
guys that
hours.
showed up when we were like, you can put your car right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And Josh was like, I'm just going to let you know, my girlfriend might not, she may implode. She may disappear. No, she hung out.
Yeah.
Well, I think she was feeling everybody out. I don't think she'd been
Yeah.
the one before, and she was like, "What is this going to thing?" And it took about a day.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, she was cool.
She was
She was
cool.
really cool, man.
Yep.
That is one of those things where I just have to say, absolutely fantastic.
Well, this is why we say,
Well, you know what it is? The
Right.
world has been like, obviously, the world is such a piece of shit generally
Yeah.
that people lose trust for goodwill for no reason.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so when they come to Mid Ohio and you're like, no, we do this for you.
Right.
Everybody's a little like, what's the
Apprehensive.
catch? Like, are they gonna set us down and sell us a fucking timeshare podcast listening?
we're not selling Amway. We're fine.
Let me talk you into this scooter over here.
Yeah, right.
It's just good old fashioned.
I've got a KTM dealership for you.
I'm being 100% serious. If we can get that entire 1/3 of the aisle of just all of us,
Right.
Well, that's not a problem.
and
Like we relinquished ground
Yeah.
because we didn't think we'd need it. But
Yeah.
if we're gonna do this next year, I mean, me
we
and
just
Bruce
take
had
and
it.
take and take. And
Okay,
then-
when I talked to Bruce and I go, how the hell did you get in there on Wednesday? And he hit
Oh,
me
he
to
did.
it. I go, are you kidding me?
No.
I had no idea about the fast pass.
Oh yeah,
He's like, I got
yeah.
the dirt bike pass.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not racing.
Well, see,
And
this
I got
worked
the
out
fast
great,
pass. I
'cause
go,
Bruce-
you mother. He's like,
went-
I was the first one in there.
Oh yeah, he went and threw a couple things down. I left
Yep.
my house at 4:15 and got there at 6.
Yeah.
I sweet talked my way through this one. The one guy was being a dick, so I sent him on a task and asked a question.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he left, this kid came up and
Yeah.
it was on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then we locked it down, man. It
Yeah.
was cool.
But how many
But
how many of you guys talked to people that said this was their first time at Mid Ohio?
Oh, a million.
Yeah. I talked to a
How
lot
many
of people
people
that
said this is my first time at Mid Ohio because of your podcast that you guys
that
do.
too. It's like, people hype up this thing as like, I think more people hear about Mid Ohio as you gotta come and you see this and you see this.
But here's the best
and
part.
they don't say, hey, also there's vintage bikes for sale.
oh yeah,
Yeah, right.
Do you know there's a gigantic swap meet too? A lot of people go for the party.
Yeah,
you know?
which is fine. But
Which is fine.
Which
the
is-
best part though is
yeah.
talking to every single person that was like, "This is my first time here."
Yeah.
On Sunday or Saturday night or whatever night before they left, I'd be
Yeah.
like, "And
And
like, what's your thing?
Yeah.
You guys aren't wrong." Like, you know what I mean? Like everybody's pumped. I have never had a bad customer. Nobody's ever been like,
Right.
"Man, you guys told me to come here and it fucking sucks."
Right. Well, and I tell everyone, I say, I can't explain Mid Ohio to you because you can literally go to the infield, you can go to the swap meet,
Yeah.
you can go to the Kentucky corner, and you will have different experiences. If you just hang out over in this section over here, you're going to have a way different experience than people that hanging out over here.
absolutely.
So you got to really take it all in and go venture out and see everything. But
everything changes every 20 yards.
Yep.
exactly.
Sure does.
I mean, at one point, I kept telling my buddy, I said, listen, you got to go up on that hill and just look out over the campers and everything else and just start looking around, and start venturing out, Go up onto the parking lot area, then the hill. And my buddy had got there Friday night, and he's like, yeah, we're just camping in our van, whatever. He's like, come up, see this bike that I just got. And I go up there, and I'm looking at a 53-foot motorhome towing a trailer parked sideways. I'm like, they obviously weren't told, like, this isn't RV camping up here, but they had nowhere else to go.
Right.
Like, I'm amazed. They couldn't squeeze another car in that place.
You know what I thought was interesting? So the entire country of India had
Right.
sent most of their government up to have overhead views of Mid Ohio to see how that many people could interact without hitting each other. Because I don't know if you paid attention to some of the corners and some of the intersections
Oh,
there on
God.
Saturday.
Well, the drone footage was amazing.
It was fucking
was.
mayhem. There would be like 7,000 motorcycles going this way, 7,000 going this way, and somehow cars and other things filtering between all of it.
Yep. And I had to drive Becky's Chevy through
Oh, God.
the entire thing
Yeah.
twice.
Nope.
And it was the closest, because I have never been in Bangladesh or
I'm
Italy
sure it's
or anywhere else where you get this chaotic interaction of motorcycles and cars, and
then unleashing
Everybody's-
8-year-olds.
oh
yeah.
get on the
Has no driver's license, doesn't even know traffic,
You're
and you're
8
like-
years old. Get on the Coleman scooter and go right up the hill. And like I'm sitting in the car, and she's like, "How are you doing this?" I'm like, "Because I've done this for 20 years."
It amazed me how many of the kids, the young kids that
yeah.
had the yellow shirts on, they're trying to direct traffic.
Yeah.
And they don't know what the hell's
Oh,
going
no.
on. Meanwhile, you've got miles of traffic, everyone trying to get in. And they're, I'm just doing what they told me. They
Yeah.
said, not let anyone in at 5 or, whatever. And it's like, listen, do you realize how much this stuff's backed up everywhere in every direction? It's just, it was a cluster, but that's what it always is. Everyone trying to get in.
Oh,
Well, so we had this huge discussion underneath the tent, and like, what can you do about this? And like, the initial thing is like, well, let's open it earlier. But then
Yeah.
what's going to happen is everything just moves 2 days earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say what they should do is razors and stuff, maybe Tuesday, whatever day you want to get in. But they should hold a lottery. Like if you want to get in, you pay $40 extra, and then you're guaranteed either a Tuesday, Wednesday, or whatever, like a day to get in. Because that way you could like say, we can handle 500 people or 5,000 people coming in on Tuesday, 5,000 people on Wednesday, and do it that way.
If it's all about money, that Fast Pass thing, if they offered that, I'm sure they'd sell out of those. Like because they do limited number. Or here, your ticket is good for this time to this time, this 4-hour window. This
Like,
4-hour window.
You want to
get
pay
in.
extra? You want to come in from 1 to 3?
Right.
Pay $50.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that literally is how Disney does it.
Right.
Well, do you want to ride the ride faster? Okay, pay us $50.
And then
it's the front of the line.
on the forum on Facebook, all the old men could shut the fuck up
Oh,
and they could just
God.
bring the prices back down to $40 if you want to possibly get in on Saturday, maybe.
A lot of those old guys, they've been going for years, and I remember when a hamburger was 10 cents. It's
yeah.
like, listen, okay, times have changed, and you guys think the crowd is still what it was 10 years ago, and guys are paying crazy money for all
Have
these
you,
bikes.
what
It's changed.
Where other place in the country can you get that much entertainment for $250 or even
Listen,
$400 if you're camping?
I go there not to sell anything. I go there to see everything, see the races.
Because my biggest complaint about the swap meet, since we're talking about this, is literally everything in the swap meet is junk.
Oh, it absolutely
It's
is.
just there was nothing in the swap meet this year that I was like, I need this.
So I was asking about the weird and crazy unusual bikes that you've seen. So my buddy comes back and he's all floored. He's like, dude, I found the coolest bike in the swap meet. I'm like, what the hell is it? He goes, it's a Suzuki Street Magic. And I go,
the Street
what the hell is a Street Magic? Are you free? He goes, I could be a street magician. And I go, are you like, dude? He had me rolling. He had me. Oh, sorry. He had me.
Purple metal flake.
He had me rolling
Dude,
for
I'll
like
pull
a
it up
half
for
hour.
you.
I'm like, what the hell is a Suzuki Street Magic?
You've never seen one?
Oh,
It is
no.
it is
50s?
110 cc's of fun.
No. They made it. This was a 50 cc.
They
model.
did make them both ways.
Yeah. So this guy had one. First of all, the motor was locked up.
Oh,
It was missing the throttle cable and the throttle.
Yeah.
It was missing the slide out of the carb.
Yeah.
But the guy had a title for it.
Still sexy.
And he wanted $850 for it.
Okay, I take it back. There was the guy with the Japanese market scooters this year.
John
Yeah,
Coe.
he comes every
John
year.
Coe from Seattle.
That was selling them
John Coe from
cheap.
Washington.
Like they
Yeah,
were-
he was
they were-
doing great.
They were proper cheap.
Yeah,
Well,
he was
when you-
not being a dick.
And that
He
might
was
be the
selling
street
stuff
magic
cheap.
you were talking about. That might be that guy.
I don't know.
Was it silver?
It was
There
black.
it is. There you go.
There you go.
That's a Suzuki
Oh,
Street
yeah.
Magic for the people playing at home. I'll go ahead
I
and
think
throw
that's
it
the
up.
110, but the 50, it was all black and
That's
everything.
that-
And
yeah.
they-
And I'm like, it's cool, but like, dude, it's the motor's locked up.
Right.
You're missing the parts of the carb. Like, can you still get parts today? He's like, it's a Japanese import. I'm like, I don't care.
That doesn't
Like,
mean it's good.
Yeah.
That means it's less obtainable.
He goes,
Right.
if I can get that thing running, I'm like, yes, if you can get that, it's a big if.
Nothing-
You might have a parts bike there.
Nothing fits in the hole where the motor goes.
New.
Right.
And I'm gonna,
yeah.
as a person who does this for a living,
Right.
Yeah.
I will promise you this. I know we've all watched Junkyard Wars.
Yeah.
Nothing fits in the
that
hole
hole,
where
yeah.
the motor goes. That is all expansion chambers.
Listen.
That is a 14,000 RPM, 49cc scooter moped.
Like I said,
Right.
no good decision starts with I was sober coming from church. He had a few beers in him, and I think he's like, I could be a street magician.
I could be a street
I'm like, dude,
magician.
I've never heard
know
of
what?
a Suzuki Street Magic, and you need to stop it right now. I had to talk some sense into him.
There was
Just
two of those.
settle the fuck
I
down.
like
Yeah.
this.
There
Settle
was a
down,
gray
sir.
one. There was a gray one
Oh,
up on a
wait.
different section
there?
in the swap shop.
Wait,
yeah.
wait. Smith isn't
It was
here.
hidden underneath all this
So
shit.
I have to
Okay.
do it.
Right.
Settle down.
Settle down. Settle down. Okay, so
Calm
I would
down,
like
man.
to. I would
Calm
like to
down.
tell you about
Settle
my
down.
love connection at AMA Vintage Days. So my love connection at AMA Vintage Days was with one particular person. Not,
We
a
get
lot
it.
of people. A
It
lot
was
of people.
It was a special moment.
A lot of people.
You felt funny.
But one of my
But
favorite
it was
people
fine the
is
first
one of
time.
our patrons and podcast listeners, Rob Ahern, aka Uncle Fester. So, so here's why I love Rob Ahern.
He looks nothing like Uncle Fester.
I know, right? So here's why I love. First of all, Sleepy, do you recognize a bike in his stable?
Yeah, man.
Looks familiar.
I do like that green.
That's one of those dangerous fast bikes that I can't ride anymore.
Oh, except for you just bought one. What's that bike you just bought?
We'll get into
After
it.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
get into
Street
that in a
magic.
minute. It's okay. Settle down. We'll get there.
Settle down.
Right. So anyway, Rob Ahern shows up and he's just soaking in the whole Mid-Ohio thing. Well, here's what I didn't know. What Rob did was for his kids' 14th birthday or 13th birthday, he put the kid on the back of his Harley Davidson and he drove to Oshkosh to watch airplanes.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't know if anybody here has been to Oshkosh.
Oh, the fly-in.
It's
I've heard
the Mid-Ohio of
amazing.
airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But with way more consequences if you're drunk. Fucking
Oh, absolutely. You can't do a rolling burnout in
And-
Cessna.
No.
And
You shouldn't.
I know that AMA Vintage Days is big, but if you can imagine AMA Vintage Days times 40 with an airstrip
Yeah.
Strips.
and people, multiple airstrips,
Yeah.
and a lake down the street that you can land your seaplanes on,
Yeah,
which is a
that's
whole other
kidding.
party, and all of us camping out under the wings of our Cessnas, aka Beechcraft Bonanzas, what have you.
And as a pilot, you could be in a Cessna, and usually when you're landing in a Cessna, there's other Cessnas around. But at Oshkosh, you could be next to a C-30.
Yes, you-
Oh, yeah.
They call them all
You're
in
in,
at the
baby.
same time. Yeah.
And you have a very clearly defined landing schedule,
Yeah.
even a week in advance of
Yeah.
the event.
Yep.
You got to have your shit together. But anyway, he took his kid on the back of their Harley and they rode all the damn way from Mason, New Hampshire, where he's a motorcycle mechanic / salesman
Ah.
at a Motorsports International dealership. Yeah, that's cool. And then he took his kid all the way to Oshkosh and decided that since it was on the way home, they'd go to AMA Vintage Days.
Why not?
How fucking cool is that?
Yeah. And then
And I'm talking about dads and kids doing super cool shit.
And that dude, like all the people out there, this is the same guy that does the iron butt stuff.
He does.
right? Yeah,
He's a
okay.
super iron butt
So
rider.
he told me his
Multiple
one
iron
Harley
butt
has
riders.
339,000 miles on it. It has a second engine, but it only got it after 225,000 miles.
And
So
this- we
I
were-
was so happy when we were hanging out, and I was might have been a little fucked up, and I may have been partaking of some of the extracurriculars.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these very large 6-cylinder BMW motorcycles kept landing in our spot.
Oh my god! And the smallest
yeah.
people got off
And
the biggest
they were
bikes.
on this type of gravel that I lovingly call marbles. Mm-hmm. And it was like the gravel on Thursday was fresh, new, and
Yeah.
dangerous. And eventually it became more livable, or I became better at it.
Well, it was
One of the
4
two
inches
things
thick on
happened.
Thursday.
And on Thursday it was
thick.
super Camp Swampy.
those things were amazing
And-
and big.
These fellas and ladies showed up on big motherfucking motorcycles.
They were.
The one lady showed up on a 19 Harley Davidson Lowrider Police Edition. Haven't seen one of those in a minute.
Yeah.
Painted black, beautiful, whole deal.
Yep.
They all show up. They ruck up into our campsite after 2,100 miles of hard road.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to a guy who's like, well, yeah, I'm on my 31st iron butt.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, and where are you sleeping? In this small bag I have that's called a tent. That's not a tent. We have campers and shit you can sleep in. Nope. I'd rather sleep in this tent.
Listen,
that is
after-
made
yeah.
by Ziploc. That's
Yeah.
not a tent. Nope, it's my tent. It's what I have. I've never seen so many Kermit chairs. Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
You know, I still feel bad about this.
4 bikes showed up as 37 cylinders.
But I had a 12 by 12 add-on.
Yeah.
That I kept inviting people to
I
sleep
know.
under.
I know.
And it was vacant the entire, like it literally turned into the valet spot. And I'm
That's
like, no.
what the BMWs could have parked
Like
under.
you could live under this awning.
That's what we do, dude. That's where we fucked up. And next year, I'm personally going to fix it. We're going to have the FEMA tent and parking.
And valet parking.
And valet parking.
I
We told Dan he could do it next year.
I've never been around so many Million Mile Club members
Yeah.
as in our campsite last weekend.
You know,
No shit.
they
You're
just
right.
kept showing up.
Wendy.
They're super
and
nice
Mike,
people.
And then those two
Right.
and him.
Yeah.
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 They all
It's-
showed
you
up
know,
and they were all super. And the guy from Philly with the indescribable accent. I was like, he's British. Nope, he's not British.
Nope.
He's Australian. No, he's not Australian.
But you
I think
think-
he's from Jersey, Philly, maybe.
So
With all these iron butts, I was hoping for some more hot pants, but nothing.
no, not a lot of that happening.
you know,
Yeah, Mid-Ohio
I'm
is
going
not
to put
the-
this out there. It kind of makes me
It's
feel
not.
a little
I don't know,
inadequate.
man. At the punk rock show, there was a lot of half-naked girls jumping around, man.
I only saw the
It's-
videos.
You know, I look at these guys because you were talking about the Alcan
Right.
in our in the live podcast no one will ever hear. And
People
Yeah,
that
if you rode the Alcan before it was
Before
chip
it was-
tar.
yeah.
greatest
before it was-
If it
podcast
was,
you'll never
if it
hear.
was just
Right.
all stupid fucking gravel.
And I think about all of the stuff because I have no real
Right.
desire to ride a million miles.
Right, exactly.
Because
I do.
Yeah.
I like cars. I like air conditioning.
I like air conditioning.
radio.
Not me.
I really don't want to ride a Goldwing because it has
Oh,
all
yeah.
those things.
Oh, stop it. You never lived. Never lived till you're
But I
not.
like what Pete does with the off-roading in the small 125.
Tom's like, I don't
You know
want-
what?
I-
With the off-roading and the 125s
off-roading
and
and the
the
125s.
traveling all the miles and stuff. You know
with
what,
your
what
gold
Pete
wings.
does.
I like the little riding. I
You know,
like
Pete and his brother Tim with the little bikes and the big luggages.
Tom's like all that comfort and stuff. I don't want any part of
Yeah,
that.
right. I like to suffer.
I just,
Cruise control. Jesus Christ. You might as well have a third wheel.
I throw my dick on the ground, then I drive over it just to make myself feel better.
Who needs a muffler? Remember last year your muffler fell
Oh,
off your
God.
bike?
That was horrible.
I go, listen, where's your muffler? I don't know, it fell off.
so
You didn't
I
hear it getting louder?
I love the fact these guys that are all iron butt riders and
Right.
multi-milers and million milers that show up at the campsite and they're like, "This is my story."
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's cool that the people come for that and they come for like, see all this and hang out with other
Yeah.
motorcycle people.
Yeah.
That's why all the old men that got pissed about I didn't sell anything in the swap meet. Well, it's because there's a lot of people that just want to hang out, man.
Yeah.
They want to talk. They want to
Well,
say, hey, talk bikes and stuff.
Check this out. So my buddy Mike, like you guys all know Mike, he finally
Right.
came down. So he's been putting off coming to Mid-Ohio for a long time. And,
Right.
and to be honest, a couple times he said, I just don't get it. He's like,
just don't get it.
You guys are riding around like you
just don't get
bikes,
it.
like
What
whatever.
the
Like,
hell, man?
It just does not appeal to me.
Why the hell do you
And
want to ride around
I said,
gravel?
okay, I understand that.
Hold
but I'm
on.
like,
Wait a second. To bring our podcast listeners up to speed,
right.
because it's only been 474 episodes, and we haven't talked about Mike for a minute.
Okay.
You might identify him as an HVAC guru who also does long distance riding on small bikes.
Oh, you mean Tim? Yeah, yeah.
You might identify him, Pete, as a firefighter, a veteran who does long distance riding on all kinds of bikes and is BMW enthusiast and has been heavily trained in BMW motorcycle cross riding. You might identify Greg as being a slightly homosexual mini bike enthusiast. No, I'm teasing. All right. But
I'm a drunk.
how would you identify Mike beyond a dad of 10?
Like he likes to ride. And he
Exactly.
used to like to ride a lot.
But he's a dad of 10,
12.
12.
Good God.
Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus.
He didn't
talk-
learn after the first 10 times.
Well, no, I mean, it's his
Man
family.
couldn't pull out of
He's
a
into it.
driveway.
Oh my God.
No, but he's
12
like-
children.
But he likes adventure riding.
Apparently, he
likes,
also likes to have sex.
well, who doesn't?
Look, I've had sex more than 12 times.
I know,
but I have not had 12 children.
He's got a weak pull-out game.
Right.
Very weak.
He's got
Very weak.
he's got a built-in network
Child
to take care
maker
of
is what he's
shit.
got.
And I've met his wife when she's been doing motorcycle cross-country rides too.
When does she find time?
She has the kids on the bike. What?
She has the pants and maternity leathers.
Sidecar for-
Good God.
The metal apocalypse sidecar that holds 6 on each side.
I am not against having kids, but good God, man.
But Mike is a
do you
fucking
have a
solid
farm?
ad.
Yeah,
Oh,
see?
he's one of my best friends.
He's a solid cat.
But here's the thing.
Good on you, bud.
So he likes to ride long. Like he likes the V-Strom.
He's
He
probably
likes
trying to
stuff
get away
like
from
that.
the kids.
Right.
Well, everybody does. I have 3 and I want to get away from mine. Like, let's just,
Oh
But
my
anyways,
God. Hey, who's trying to sell you what?
Okay. Anyways, so the whole time, like like we go riding, it's like official riding. It's big bikes, it's long distances, turns, twists, whatever. And so he just didn't get the pit bike thing. Like he gets it with his kids, like taking the kids to the park and riding pit bikes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But like he didn't. So I finally said, dude, you got to come down. We got passes, whatever, So he comes in, he gets there, and at first he's like, whoa, this is a lot to take in. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing, I didn't even put it together. He had never been there before, so like when he got there, he was like, he saw the camping, he saw everything. I was like, no, fuck this. Let's get on a pit bike and let's ride around.
Yeah.
So then we rode around, and we went everywhere. We went to the whole swap shop. We did the thing. We went around, and then he was like, oh, okay. I understand this now. Like this is fun. This is really fun.
Yeah.
So then I even went further, and he got to experience a little of like the old school Mid-Ohio brought back. So I noticed that my GS was not getting a lot of attention.
No, it was not getting a lot of attention.
But I know that the fucking thing sounds like a fucking Ferrari.
Right.
Like it is the perfect amount of packing on an old school 4-into-1 Vance and Hines. It sounds like a V8 with a cam in it. It's like blah, 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 blah. And all you got to do is drive around and go. Rrr. So I'm like, here, jump on my bike and follow me. So we start driving around. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just like, you're being a dick. I'm like, nope. I'm like, there's a purpose to this. So I'm driving through the swap shop.
You're
I'm
being
like,
a dick.
I'm like, brr, 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 vroom, brr, 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 vroom. And 2 or 3 lanes, nothing. He's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, just wait. And so we get to like almost the last thing of the swap shop, and I'm heading back to my spot. And this kid comes running. I mean, like full
Sprinting
sprint
it, yep.
from fucking
Yep.
3 blocks away. Hey, where you at? My dad wants your bike.
Nice.
He heard it. I was like, I look at Mike and I'm
That's
like, see?
one of the biggest things. And people go, why am I not selling us stuff? I said, listen, take your bike, put a for sale sign on it, and ride it around.
Yep.
Ride it around real slow around people and
show
show them
off
how
it.
it's show them off.
Show its best features.
right.
If it has a great exhaust,
Right,
use
right.
the
Rev it up.
Exhaust.
Yeah.
And you know what? Nothing sells a bike better than the one that's riding past the campsite
Exactly.
where you're having a beer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, they deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if somebody showed up past my campsite an 87 Honda VF 700 Interceptor with the tail seat cover, yeah, I know. That's for all the true fucking weirdos out there.
I like it.
But if you show up if you roll in front of my campsite, even if it's the blue and gray one, I might give you money.
Yeah.
I might make one of those deals out of the
Notice-
campsite in the dark.
So all these old men next year
Right.
that listen to the podcast, they're going to just drive all these
Yes,
bikes
they
right
are.
by you. Hey,
Yes,
Phil, remember
they
what you said
are.
last year? Here I am. Where's your
Here I
cash?
am.
I delivered.
But anyways, at the end of it, he was just like, I think I get it now.
I think I get it now.
Yeah.
I think I get it
So I think
now.
it is weird that like, I guess we've been going for so long that we can't imagine not like we don't
No,
we
we
don't
can't
know what
imagine
it's
not
like to
going.
not know what it is.
Well, there's
Right.
there's a
You know what I
thing
mean?
here Phil and I actually discussed towards the very end of the entire weekend. And it is because Phil has had a spot in the swap meet forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reality is that it pisses him off to no end to have to go all the way back to the swap meet to talk to some guy
Right.
Yeah,
about
it's
the
far.
crap in
Yeah.
his spot in the swap meet when he'd rather be sitting up there.
Sleepy's like, here's
Having
$10. I sold your literally prototype SW Motorsport KLR 650 bash plate.
Yeah.
Sleepy's like, here, I sold this for you. $10.
And
you had it on
And
the
I'm like,
$10 table.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And-
I thought you did something wrong. I was like, no, man.
And the reality is, we kind of came across the point this time around that if we just put all the crap
Right.
in the gutter in front of our booth, and people got drunk in our booth and went, "Hey, how much you want for this?" It would actually just save
we
us.
wouldn't have to leave our own
Which would-
campsite.
You know what might be fun though?
Yeah.
I have a really small PA that runs on a battery
Yeah.
and a mic.
Yeah.
We should just hold auctions.
Just taunt people
Just
too.
be like, all right, guys,
Motorcycle
this
auction.
next piece is going up. We got it started at, and
Right.
we're going to start at 50 and we're going out.
Right.
Who wants
Hey,
this thing?
You need a professional auctioneer.
And how many nights?
That's the one thing I tell everyone. That's the one thing I tell everyone is like when you go to Mid Ohio, if you are looking for a bike, don't go just through the swap.
Oh, no.
Go
Right.
all through the tent camping area. Go
only-
everywhere.
Well,
go through the
different
parking
sections.
lot.
Because the
Only-
racing guys, if you go over
The
by the
only
racing,
pink
they're
Stella
all
I've seen
two-stroke
in-
racers,
yeah.
and then you go all different places. You know,
There was a pink Stella in the campground.
It happens to be.
And I was on it.
It happens to be that the swap meet is where all the guys, the vendors, and you'll find pieces, parts, you'll find a lot of stuff centralized there.
Yeah.
But when you venture out, okay, these guys, they got a couple running bikes, they got a couple this, there's a gas tank, there's, like it's everywhere.
yeah. And on top of that, if you go up, like if you see a bike that somebody's riding and you want it,
Right.
go up and be like, hey, I'll give you whatever you're going to give for it. And they might say it's not for sale, or they might go,
That's
shit,
case.
okay.
That's
What?
case in point. The SL70 that I was riding with, a little 90cc, I built that purposely for Mid Ohio about 5-6 years ago.
It's only cool at Mid Ohio.
I bring it back to Mid Ohio almost every year. I didn't bring it back last year because I brought my CT70 with the 90 motor in it. Just because it's my fun pit bike, and I'm riding around the SL this past, Mid Ohio. I'm riding it down the one way, and guy comes up next to me on a XL70, an original one, and he looks at me, and we're just cruising. He goes, "Man, that thing's nice. It sounds great." And I go, "Thank you." And I rev it up a little bit. He goes, "Do you want to sell it?" And I go, "Nah, I'm good." And so one of my buddies was like, "Man, you could have got good money for it." I'm like, "Do you realize?" This is my Mid Ohio
Yeah.
And
bike.
then I have to build a new
I
another one.
don't
have to
ride
build
it really.
another one.
There's maybe a couple other places I can
Right.
take it to.
Yeah.
But this bike makes sense at this meet.
Yeah, it does.
It's not like, oh yeah, this is my daily rider that I ride to work with. No,
Right.
this is my
It's
Mid Ohio bike.
Only
Speaking of that-
cool at Mid Ohio.
Speaking of that, so to credit once again SSRs.
right.
So my green one, which I've put 9,000 hours on, and then brought it to Mid Ohio now for the third year.
Yeah, third year in a row.
And this year
you didn't ride it at all.
I didn't ride it at all.
Yeah,
but
but Evie rocked the shit out of it.
but it got at least 10 hours a day on it.
Oh, yeah. I
At
think so.
least.
Yeah.
It went through like I counted 7 tanks of
7
gas.
tanks of gas.
Oh, yeah.
Which on a SSR is like 600 miles. So what I'm saying is 3 years of Mid Ohio
Yeah.
plus every one of our fat butts
Right.
beating on it, and the thing. So finally, the foot pegs
So-
fell off. But that was only because they were never Loctited because we were drunk when we built it.
No, we built them in a race.
In a race while drinking. Right. So thanks to Tom's destroyed SV.
Yeah.
Or no,
V-Strom.
It donated enough screws and bolts that we put it back together.
Perfect.
And then it rode until I think
Oh my God.
J2.0 blew the front wheel out on Sunday at 3.
Did you really?
Perfect.
Just to pop the tire?
Yeah,
Perfect.
no big deal. But what I'm saying is that if you've been considering an SSR,
Right. I can speak.
we can say that
Oh, yeah.
4,000 hours
Yeah.
of 300-pound men
Right.
later, the thing still fucking
And
works.
Patty keeps bringing his back, and every year he brings his back, it gets better because somebody else whispers on it.
Yeah.
Right? So every year he brings his SSR back. He's like, damn, this thing's running better than it ever was. And I was like, well, you keep bringing it here.
right.
Yeah.
To speak of whispering, since Mr.
Yeah.
McElfresh isn't here,
Yeah.
everybody got to witness John whisper on Bagel's
So
CT7.
I whispered on Bagel's CT70 because it wasn't happy.
No.
And so I whispered on it my way until the pipe was cherry red and I could smell head gasket.
Yeah.
So I was like, yep, I whispered too hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, okay, I got the carb set, but it's having a fuel problem. So the carb is now set. It'll do what it does, but now you need to scare the upstream problems away.
Yep.
Things in the gas tank, things in the fuel tap, things going to the fuel tap. The carb is now where the carb should be. That's fine. Now you need to go upstream, and now you got to get the shit out of the bottom of the gas tank.
Fuel delivery.
Oh, yeah.
The fuel delivery problem. I got the carb dialed. We're good. But I was like, and now we have to turn it off, or we'll be fusing all the metal parts together. Because I was serial raping it in the part.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah, I was like, because Tom was like, I can't get it started. I was like, well, I can. Step into my office. And then John
bang,
showed
blow.
up, and then John put the time in to get it fucking
John went top to
perfect.
bottom.
And
I
John
watched
went
it.
top to bottom.
It's
Yeah.
funny because he came before you all got involved in this. He came over to me and he says, "What do you think the problem is?" I said, "Your problem is you haven't gone into the pits in the swap meet and bought a $15 Chinese carburetor." And he's like, well, I want to keep it all original. I
No,
said, well,
because every bike in here is running on that exact same Chinese carburetor.
he's like, well, I want to keep it all original. I said, well, that's your problem.
No, I don't only run Romanian ammunition in my AK.
Come on, man.
No, I run Chinese ammunition and I run Russian ammunition.
He's like, what do you think the problem is?
Whether it's got a bear on it or a wolf on it, I don't care. The gun doesn't care.
You literally buy a carburetor out of a stack of Chinese carburetors, and this thing will be running in 5 minutes. I don't want to do that. Well, that's your problem.
Keep it original.
I will literally say this, that year after year consistently, guys show up with bikes that are backfiring and don't run. You watch the rear wheel is wobbling like this, and these guys give it hell.
Every Suzuki TS anything that goes past my booth.
Yeah.
What did you say? A bag of skeletons?
It's a bag. It's a skeleton jerking off in a coffee can.
That was
Right?
About right.
And I'm like, every time one of these fucking things goes by, and I can see the stinger is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind
The
of.
way they built these things was there was like a header pipe and a flat ass expansion chamber, and then a tube with a weird little nipple tip on the end of it. And then that whole tube was supposed to be full of packing material. But no, that's not cool. We got to make all that shit go away. And every time one of these things goes by, it does sound like all the ball bearings in the planet in one container, a steel drum.
Yeah.
And then over here is all of the big square metal objects on the other planet, and they all just fell down the same stairs together, right? And it just goes past my campsite like the. And I'm going to do this podcast. Listeners at home, bear with me. This is your instant Mid Ohio experience. And that's all weekend long.
And suddenly we're
you look up
in Kentucky,
and you look up and it's a little blur of yellow,
Yeah.
ridden by a recently homeless guy, who's at his 27th Mid Ohio, and he's been saying, "No, somebody's going to pay me a lot of money for this TS 125, 180, 90, 80, 80. Can I hear 75? Can I hear 50? Sold to the poor homeless fucker who wants a 70s Suzuki two-stroke."
But Phil, did you see it includes the original Tom Smith boots from the era
Right.
and the pants and the leather bra strap thing with the arms because they didn't have jackets. They just had the arm protectors.
Yeah, when those guys go past my booth, I'm like, oh, I fucking hate fuck you. Like, I get it. There was a period of time, but I also want to remind you that in 1970, whatever, that was the cheapest motorcycle that existed. There was none cheaper. You were truly scraping the bottom of the barrel. Even Montgomery Ward's Riversides were more expensive than that horseshit you're riding right
weird
now.
Harley Davidson SX, whatever the fuck it was.
I promise you. But every time one goes past my booth, I'm just like nails on the chalkboard. Even the guy with the little Kawasaki S3 and the KZ75 frame, adorable little triple who's just
the same thing for 9 years.
Look at me.
It's annoying, but I like it.
He keeps adding weird guys and more cylinders every year.
Like I kind of want one because I kind of get where he's at.
Look, 7 cylinders.
Yeah.
You have my attention.
Yeah.
Right. And then seven silencers
And
coming out of 7 expansion chambers.
I just like that
8-inch
one
wheels.
dude in England.
No, this was on the full size one.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
full
but
size
I
one.
like how one dude in England in a shed has inspired people all over the world to start putting cylinders together.
Literally, when people start, when people start telling him, I'm like, yeah, that's like I just call that a milliard. Like I call that a milliard build.
I kind of wish I had time to do cool shit, but the reality is I'm too busy doing stuff.
Mundane shit for money. Mundane shit for money.
So here's
That's
the thing.
called America.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
All the cool
Yeah.
people that you see doing this stuff, that's because he's like an astrophysicist that works 4 hours a week and has a bunch of money and he has time to do this.
Or you're
Like,
Kromke and you retired early.
Right.
Yeah.
And I literally, what did I do today? 10 hours labor and 2 hours labor and 6 hours?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're all the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all just agreeing to do the thing we're doing.
Right.
And we're like, even if you're a sex worker, it
'Cause
became less fun 25 years ago.
Because even you told me today, you're like, I don't have time to put an RV back together.
Exactly.
You sure as hell don't have it.
No.
I looked at it and went, you're right.
No, I've seen your garage.
Right. You've seen my garage.
If
You've seen your garage.
The best 30
Because
hours.
Your garage comes before my garage.
The best 30 hours Tom could spend would be liquidating his garage.
Sure.
Dude,
Not
the feeling,
adding something to his
the
driveway.
feeling of,
Right.
dude,
Yeah.
When I got home.
Okay, let's do the math because we're about to embark on a new story.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Now this
Sleepy.
is Sleepy story.
Sleepy.
Yeah.
How much weight did you lose in the past 9 days?
Dude, like up till mid-Ohio, I was like, I felt the weight of all those bikes, right? And I'm like, okay, they all kind of run, but they all have that shitty little bit of gas from last year. So now I have like 40 hours of work to do on all these.
And how many carburetors?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Many.
5, 6, lots of carburetors.
Over a dozen.
Yeah.
One, too many, lots.
12.
Lots and
12.
lots of things.
Yeah, a lot of carburetors.
As the weekend progressed and I sold things and then sold more and then basically the other day had none left, I felt so good. I looked at the garage and I'm
Sleepy.
like, I like all the bikes that are in here.
Hey, Sleepy.
Nice.
The one thing you tell us, put your face in that microphone.
Right. Well, he's trying. He's having an equipment problem.
He is having equipment problem.
He's having an architecture problem.
Hey,
right
Sleepy.
now.
Something changed here all of a sudden.
Sleepy, I got 2 words for you.
Yeah.
Street magic.
You can
You got rid of all those big bikes. You need a small little Japanese import.
He's got that
I
shit.
I still have.
You could be a street music.
He's got a Buscadero. He's got a RAV 90. Right. Yeah.
I got some things I'm working.
He's got a
on some
RAV.
things.
He's got a Buscadero.
So anyway,
But-
you got rid of all the stuff.
So I got rid of all that stuff, and so I'm
Yeah.
sitting with this loot, and I'm starting to think about things and stuff. And I'm like, I should save this, just put it away. And then my wife came out of nowhere, and she said, "Hey, didn't you sell a whole bunch of bikes this weekend?" And I said, "Maybe." And She says, "Because we have the Chicken Project has this and that and that." And I said,
I believe I'm sensing liquid capital in this general area.
I smell
wait a
money.
"Do you know where a better
money.
do you know where a better place to store money is?
Oh, I can tell you.
A really good deal on another motorcycle."
Yeah.
I thought you were going to just say key straight.
The
old-fashioned way.
The old prison locker. The old prison wallet.
Unfortunately, my prison wallet has a lot of traffic.
He's going to stick it in his
Whoa.
cock holster.
No, it's no.
Somebody's going to find it, is what you're saying?
Wow, that came out really bad.
Wow.
I crap a lot.
That's what happens.
Oh, yeah, sure. Good save.
Nothing at all. to do
Okay,
with
so
Anyway.
Besides all this, I'm in the middle of like a midlife crisis because I'm 53 and I don't want a Corvette and I don't want to cheat on my wife. So what does that leave you? That leaves you going back to the days of going, I haven't died on a 200-mile-an-hour motorcycle in a while.
Right.
So then you start looking at fucking stupid, really dumb motorcycles that you already swore that you weren't going to buy because you were getting rid of the fast ones. But then you remember that this particular company makes an old man version with upright handlebars, and
it's called
really,
a Multistrada. Oh, wait.
No,
sorry.
no,
different
no.
I
podcast.
thought it was the Falcon.
no. So,
Falcone?
No,
Futura? Futura.
but it's called an Aprilia, and it's an Aprilia, and it's an old man version. So it's the V4RR Tuono.
Is it, what year is it?
It's a 2016.
Oh, yeah.
So it comes in at a nice 184 horsepower. Top speed of 197 miles
But
an
what's
hour,
weird
some
is
shit like that.
Okay, but here's the weird thing about that particular bike because I have a lot of history with that. The 1100 RR, it is the RR,
Yeah, it's
but it
awesome.
is also the Tuono.
Yeah.
So it's got that blend. Like if you're a Suzuki guy, you know about the TL1000S,
Right.
But you also know there was a TL1000R,
Right.
Right. And if you also know that was the one to have because it was a big honkin' V-twin that had a reasonable riding position.
Right.
Whereas the TL1000S was kind of a bandit with a V-twin instead of an inline four, right?
So what you're saying is the V-Strom 1000.
Well,
Yeah, something like that. Except for that this thing.
I know, it's not the same.
Except
It is
for
not the
plus a
same.
whole 100 horsepower,
I know.
right?
Well, besides
Yeah.
that, so I'm not going to use the 180 horsepower. That's not my intention.
No, you would never do that.
No. But
No, you would never do that.
the thing is that it handles I mean, it's made for what I like to do. It really is.
You
man.
literally bought because I've always you have Ducati and you have Aprilia. And
Right.
they're always kind of this back and forth, so it's almost a Ferrari, Lamborghini kind of situation.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what I've always kind of wanted, like one of these baller bikes. I couldn't afford it. Then talking to Marshall for fucking 5 hours down in Mid Ohio, he's like, oh, blah blah blah. I got my Torino or Toronto, whatever the fuck it is. I'm like, I can't say it, but you know, Tuono. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, I used to like that. I really liked the sport bike version, the RS4. And I'm like, man, I forgot that they made that bike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? Well, here's the thing. Because knowing me, I'm like, it can't be uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, I hate it.
Do you want me to help you real quick?
Yeah.
The word tuono
Yes.
in Italian
Tuono.
means thunder.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I like that better.
AC/DC.
Yes.
The
No,
So-
no, no,
so
no,
after-
no, no, no.
So after talking to
play that
him
game next year.
and slobbering over it, then
Copyright
doing some
infringement.
Googlings and all this
Yeah.
other stuff, I'm like, you know what? This is a great place to store the money I made this weekend.
Yes, you can literally take that money
Yeah.
and mold it into the shape of Italian sport sexiness.
Yes. And
Just
so-
tell your
And
wife.
your wife won't care
Yeah,
because
right.
it doesn't look like a chicken.
Exactly. So like I start looking around.
I
and
don't
I'm
know.
like,
It depends on how you look at
I'm
it.
finding them at quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And I'm finding them in like Indiana and Michigan and all these different places. And they're all like the typical racy red, green, whatever colors and all that. And I'm like, that's cool, you know, but it's kind of flashy for me. And then this blue motherfucker pops up. It's got 10,000 miles. It's really nice looking. And fuck it, it says it's in LaGrange, which is 4.1 miles from my
Which
house.
is literally in your county.
So then I'm doing the thing where I'm snorting on it and looking at all the pictures, as you do.
Right.
And I'm like, I shop at that fucking thing across the street from. I'm like, I know where this dude's house is.
Right.
So I send him a thing like, hey,
you
this is
might
gonna be
burn
the-
his garage down?
Yeah, I was gonna be like, this is the weirdest fucking thing you're ever gonna see, but I already know where the bike is because I live by
Right.
you. Can I come see it?
I'm outside in your driveway.
I don't want to sound creepy, but
Yeah.
I know where you shop.
So I go to look at
I'm
it.
watching
and
you.
It's just as good as I think it is. And then the fucker starts it, and that was it. I handed money to him.
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like, I don't even care if I ride
Yeah.
this thing or not.
What did he say when you pulled it out of your keister?
He said, all money
He said $20 is $20.
Listen, come on,
So
man. You got to clean that
here's the
stuff
money.
off.
No, he took 20
Here's
less.
the money from my prison wallet.
He took 20 less and gave me the outside one back. So it worked.
Okay. So now that the podcast listeners know what we're talking about is this supreme amount of Italian sexiness in
Yeah.
the wrong color. Okay. Now hold on, bear
Italian-
with me because I used to sell these.
Italians are red or yellow.
Thank you.
That's all they come in.
I don't care. See, I'm
Red,
the
white, or
American
green?
Italian. I
Yeah,
don't
red,
care.
white, or green.
Red, white, or green.
Well,
Okay.
Steve, I'm seeing a pattern here too with somewhat exotic European
Yeah.
Go Faster bikes.
Damn straight.
You know why? Because I've never had them, and I'm like, I've done all these other things.
Yeah.
I've had Suzuki's.
Yeah.
I've had
Well, now you're
Kawasaki.
gonna- the next thing we know, he's going to buy it by Moda.
Oh no, he won't.
He will,
yeah.
with
Now
the
we're
wood
talking.
dash.
Now we're talking.
Oh,
Only
yeah.
if it's a Suzuki.
But let me just say that I brought the bike home.
Yeah.
I trailered it because I didn't have anybody to help me.
No,
so
how
I-
much? Well, hold on. Let's not bury the lead.
Right.
For those playing at home, this is 186 horsepower.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gnarly. It's,
For those playing at home, this bike MSRP'd back in year of our Lord 2016, before the economy went apeshit, for $16,299 if you could find one.
right. And now the new version's 24.
24 grand for a
Yeah.
brand new one. Yeah, exactly. For a bike that's not that much different than this one, I might
No,
add.
it has one more horsepower.
Well, and it has the extremely reliable TFT display.
I was about to say,
he
right.
said laughingly. Right.
right.
Okay. All right. So this might be considered to be the one you want to have because it doesn't have the goddamn TFT display.
Right.
It's not encumbered by excessive technology.
And it has the right amount. So it has ride mode.
has all the ride modes.
It has no wheelie mode, which is great if you want
No,
to have
it's
fun.
that is the 3-inch wheelie mode.
Yeah, right.
So the 3-inch wheelie mode means throw it at me, I can take it.
And I'm not going to let you flip over back.
Exactly. The 3-inch wheelie
Which
mode.
in this bike is
It's a
legitimately
real good idea. Yeah.
a thing.
Did I mention V4?
Yeah, V4. So like I bring it home and I'm I go over it. I check all the
Yeah.
things that I want to make sure are what I thought they
Right.
were, and it is, and it's cool.
Right.
And so I throw a helmet on and no other gear because you're just testing a bike.
You're
You're just
just in
going
the
down the road.
neighborhood.
Yeah, right. So I go down the road at a very respectable 50 miles an hour, and I'm like, wow, the bike's great, man. And I hit a couple of the turns on my little road. I'm like, oh, this thing's gonna be fun.
Right.
Then on the way back, I'm like 3 blocks from the house, and I'm in second gear. And I'm like, well, let's just see what happens if you blip this just a little bit.
Just a little.
And so at about 120 in second gear, I was like, oh, yeah, this is probably good. So I've already printed out, and underneath the speedometer, I have a thing that says be smart. And so I'm going to put that on there. But to its credit, man, so all the different modes, I honestly, until maybe I get to a track, I'm probably not going to use race mode because I tried it and it's fucking ridiculous. but the road mode, they actually have it mapped where it's a motorcycle. Like you can ride it. Like you can go 35 and you can stop at a light and leave a light and not feel like you're on a race bike. But
Exactly.
over 40 years of riding motorcycles, that is probably the closest I will ever get to a MotoGP bike. The acceleration that fucking thing has is stupid.
Remember the Honda RC 211V? It was called 211V because it's 211 horsepower.
right.
Yeah.
And you're not that far from that.
No.
And
Right.
you feel it. Like I will be adding sticky shit to the fucking tank, like those things. Because just that jab of the throttle, I almost came off the back of it. It is
How
fucking,
salvage is the title?
No salvage. 100%.
I didn't realize that when I bought that bike off of you.
Oh,
Oops.
yeah. No,
Sorry. It's okay.
No, you know why it was?
Just
right?
discovered that.
I thought you knew.
I didn't know. I don't care, but I just.
No, you know
I
what
did-
it was? It was the shift shaft. They hit the shift shaft, and we had to replace the shift shaft.
That was Adam Constantine's old bike.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
had to be a story.
Johnny Reinhardt's.
Right.
Yeah.
Johnny Reinhardt's.
Keep
Oh,
going
like,
back.
thank you, Ray. Let's go back to the DNA
okay.
chain.
I know that bike.
They're all just the same bikes. We just pass them around.
Right.
So hold on for the listeners at home. I'm just looking now. No backstory. I'm looking at Facebook Marketplace. There are some Aprilia Tuonos on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a Tuono, year of our Lord 2013, for $5,500.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an Aprilia year of our Lord 2012 for $6,900.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an Aprilia Tuono year of our Lord 2004. That's ready for historical plates for $3,500. I didn't even know they did an Aprilia Tuono in 2004. That's news to me.
Well, and that's
But,
the thing is you have to look at the different years.
Yeah, and the 07, it was 1,000 Tuono, which I'm aware of, for $4,500.
Listen, don't give him any more ideas.
Do you want to tell people what you paid for this?
like 6,500. So
Good job.
So mine's a 2016, 10,104 miles.
So you got a good deal on it.
It had the 8,000 mile service.
Yep.
So all the 8,000 mile service is done.
Yep.
It has, which I just found out today because I didn't realize I was going.
You've
through
got
the box
another
of shit.
6,000 for a valve adjustment.
Right.
6,000 more EB valves.
Yep. And then but it has the tuner thing, so it's like an $800 tuner
Yeah.
thing called the something 8 whatever, so you can add the different modes, or it has 3 modes, but then you can add more and adjust and whatever. and do
According
all
to the Kelly Blue Book of Lies, the bike is listed as normally at $11,445 with a $9,450 trade-in price.
Mm-hmm.
According to the far more accurate JD Power average retail value, over $9,290. So you done well, son.
Well, that's what I
You
figured.
done well.
So I figured if I could keep it in nice shape, right?
50% below average retail.
Tell your wife you got a great deal.
No, don't tell her anything. That's just another motorcycle. That's
No,
just,
but what I'm
Right,
saying is
well,
that in a couple of years, if I decide
right.
to sell it, I should be able to get my money back. And that's
yeah.
what
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Yeah. So
Just tell your wife it's Kawasaki RS900.
As long as you don't put it in.
KZ900S, you're fine.
she doesn't know. She just knows that there's less of them in the garage.
Right,
So
right. The
that's-
garage looks lighter, more room
yeah.
for chickens.
And you know what's great? This thing has fuel injection.
It does.
And I don't even mind. Here's the thing. This is not going to be my daily rider. I'm going
Yes.
to ride the BMW fucking all that. That's still my favorite bike I've ever owned, and I love that fucking thing. But on the Sunday morning when I want to go and I feel a bit spicy, this is getting taken out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solid bike. I mean, it's a solid bike.
There's something about
There's
just,
only one recall that I remember on this bike that you probably know about. The front brake master cylinder was a shit show. So just if it hasn't been done,
check it.
call State 8 and have them check your VIN.
Okay.
Because if your VIN is on the list and it hasn't been done, you get a free master cylinder.
I like it.
Right?
Nice.
So that's pretty good. There was a weird deal that a lot of the Piaggio products had with non-homogeneous metals allowing air to get into the system. We're still facing it today. I mean, that's what it is.
Well, if you do,
yeah.
so what I did before, obviously I do have OCD and I'm fairly compulsive
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but I do a lot of research. Like obscenely, like almost psychotic till 5 a.m. research anytime I'm interested in something.
Right.
So I went through all the different things, and there are a few things that I checked, and I have lists of things to check. One is the valves. You have to stay up on all this
Yep,
stuff.
you should.
But generally, man, this year especially, the 2016 overall seems to be like they sorted the bugs out. The bike was as good as it's going to get. Just like you said, the people that got the new one are complaining about the TFT and some other stuff.
Right.
But like these guys, there's guys on the, of course, the Aprilia forums and stuff that they got 58,000 miles on these things, and like they've had nothing but just normal
Starter
service.
relay, we replaced a couple of starter relays, and that was purely because of people letting the battery get too low. Mm-hmm. They let the battery get too low. They try to start the bike in a low battery. Sometimes that'll cause the relay to hang up. That's not a big deal. Everybody can do that. That's not a big deal. There was a gear position sensor, but that again didn't
whatever.
affect the rideability of the whole
Right.
goddamn
So
motorcycle.
here's a
you're
question
fine.
I do that you might know.
Yeah.
So he gave you 2 keys,
Yep.
and the keys are normal keys.
Yep.
The one goes in, no problem, starts bike.
Right.
The other one, it says enter code.
Correct.
What the fuck is that?
So on a lot of these bikes from Piaggio at that time period, it is encouraging the owner to, in addition to their key, select a 5 or 6 digit code that they would put in the motorcycle so that if they went away on vacation and they left their keys at the house,
Yeah, someone could take.
and Uncle Johnny the drunk or the kid who's 18 years old who knows where the keys are, even with the keys, he can't take the motorcycle out.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'd
So
probably
the
have to open
default
that
setting,
book.
the default setting would be the last 5 digits of your VIN. So most dealers, when we were prepping them, we would put the last 5 digits of your VIN into the code. Now, if that doesn't happen, there are ways that you can find out to reprogram the code from baseline. It's not a big deal. There should be 2 different colored keys with the bike. So you should have a blue key and a yellow key, or a blue key
It's
and a
like
red
a
key.
gray and a blue. or
Yeah, gray and a
something.
blue. Yeah, that's exactly right. So there'll be 2 keys. One of those keys is your God key. One of those keys is your daily driver key.
That's what I figured.
That's what it is.
All right.
That's just what it goes. But as far as being durable goes, yes, you're absolutely right. The 2017, the following year, went to the TFT display, where the TFT display was TFT totally fucked today. It became a place where water would go to die. I don't care what my customers would do to any of these things. They filled up with water. They were like fish bowls. You would get the bike out in the rain for 5 minutes and the TFT display would be fogged. You couldn't read it for shit. Guys got really good at drilling holes all over these fucking things to let water out and air in to try to defog them.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
A whole lot of fogged up displays in 2017.
But I was pretty impressed to find out that a lot of European dudes tour with this thing.
Yeah,
Like,
oh
they
yeah,
got bags and things.
It's a
and
fucking,
it's like a daily
it's a
driver.
nail.
So
yeah, it's a nail.
But I don't know. I found it sexy, and like even if I can't ride it, looking at it is fine.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's a good looking bike.
It's a sexy bike.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it's an amazing bike that just happens to be the wrong color.
That's why I bought it. I love that.
Hey,
blue
but he
color,
likes
man.
it.
So for the record, what Aprilia did here was they did some Gilera shit without asking Gilera. Having the giant letter A on the fucking fairing, that's supposed to be a Gilera logo.
That literally looks like a Gilera DNA.
Doesn't it?
I'm not gonna lie.
Doesn't it look just like a Gilera
is
DNA?
A Gilera DNA.
I promise you, it's the same paint scheme. We know that these bikes are all cheating off each other's notes
Oh, yeah.
all day long.
I like blue.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? It's a great color. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But this bike is 100% ripping off the Gilera DNA
Yeah.
in the most violent way possible.
Which is hysterical because we were talking about the 916
yeah.
last week
Right.
before last?
Yeah.
And Gilera has a 1/3 scale 916 that they
Right.
sell.
yeah, they do. That's right.
So
So that's the Gilera DNA. The Gilera DNA is, we were like,
That is
yep.
sexy.
yeah.
I know.
I
it
was-
is.
That's
It's
a fraction of the price.
Dude, the Gilera.
You could have got that one at a
know.
steal.
A
Oh my
steal.
god!
We actually got the DNA as a Chinese knockoff.
Ah,
was
don't
like,
even
that
talk
looks
about that.
weird.
That looks
Don't
like
even.
that looks like the wildfire version of my.
It is the wish.com version of your bike right there.
Those straight up and down rear shocks are really turning me on.
Yeah.
This was the motorcycle version of the Runner 180.
That's all it is.
And they were actually really cool. And it's kind of a shame they never brought it here because it would have been Piaggio's 180cc or 200. I guess they sold a 200 version as well.
But how did they make a real motorcycle look like a scooter?
Exactly.
That's
Because
so-
they started with
Because
scooter.
it literally is
Because the gas tank is a frunk.
180cc two-stroke scooter
This
motor.
particular motor is a 125cc that you can turn into
Right.
a 172 Melosi kit, and if it's a 180, you can still turn it into a 172
And-
Melosi kit.
I'm
and
sorry.
it'll rip your little arms off.
We literally got Piaggio screwed us by not bringing us this because it
Also
would
true.
have made that because this is like the
They made an exception for the Gilera Fiocco 500, which is an MP3 500.
Yeah.
So they brought some Gilera into America, but they wouldn't bring this in. And this is all the one all the scooter boys were
Exactly.
just feverishly stroking it in the corner over.
That looks like an abomination to me.
What it is a 16,000 RPM two-stroke.
Yeah.
That'll go
You know,
85 miles an hour stock.
They're freaking monsters.
And they're fun. And they're super fun. And unlike the Italjet Dragster that I can't fit on because I am American sized, and the Gilera Runner, which I owned in this exact same paint scheme as his Aprilia,
Yeah.
Yeah, my Gilera Runner was exactly the same paint scheme as his fucking, I had the KTM version Runner. And again, 2-stroke, 16,000 cc's, party on, Wayne.
It's a 2-stroke, but it looks like it's got a 4-stroke pipe on it.
This one does because of bad. This owner shall be
that's
drawn
what
in
I'm saying.
corner,
Like
right?
something's wrong there.
They made a 2-stroke version and
they made
later
a
version
200
was a
cc 4-stroke.
version. Yeah.
Right, yeah. They made a 200 cc 4-stroke. But obviously, the party you want to attend is the 2-stroke 180. That's where you want to show up because that's where the fun is.
I'm surprised. I've never seen one of those at Mid-Ohio.
Because it's a goddamn Gilera DNA one. Yeah. There's 3 of these in America, I'm pretty sure of. Yeah. I think I know 2 of the guys. Yeah.
They are not common at all.
No.
There's more street magics in the country than those things.
You were talking, Phil,
Yeah.
that was a conversation we had during the live podcast of bikes you wanted to buy at Mid-Ohio. Your must-buy bike. You're at the butt bike.
Yeah.
Look up the Gilera Saturno.
Yeah.
And not the old one, the new one. Centuro.
The Centuro.
Centuro.
No, are you sure it's not Centenario?
I
think it's a Centenario.
Saturno. Saturno.
Oh, the Saturno. Oh, yeah, the Saturno. Okay,
I actually got a near miss with one a couple of years ago, and I still kick myself. Well, I mean, it's been 20 years.
It's the modern one, though.
It's the modern one.
Yeah.
The old,
So
the
it's-
old ones are beautiful.
Oh, the old ones are gorgeous.
But the new 125-ish,
Yeah, right,
that has the
right.
fairing, it looks like the total mid-90s sex.
Yeah. So this is there's
That's
the old
original,
one. Yeah,
which
the
is
old
a
one.
beautiful bike.
Gorgeous motorcycle. Painfully attractive vintage motorcycle.
But the top left.
But
top left,
but this one is the
that one?
I had a near
This is
miss.
the parallel twin 2-stroke
I had a
GP
near
racing
miss with one of
motor.
those
That's cool.
In 2004, I had
Yeah.
a near miss with one of those, and I
God.
still kick myself.
We were talking about those CF Motos before, and that CF Moto Papio SS
Oh, that's so
kind of
good.
has like that kind of look.
I
to
will
that
let you
Street
two
Fighter.
just jerk each other off now into oblivion.
Got the
because
round headlights.
It's officially over now. Yeah.
Wait. Ready? Drink. To be fair, I would take either Saturno.
Yeah. The Saturno in red. I believe that was the Bialbero, wasn't it?
Bialbero?
Bialbero, right? The Bialbero.
Yeah.
That's obscure fucking Italian shit right there.
That's the problem. Is I clip
Right.
my teeth on this stuff.
Yeah, that's obscure fucking Italian horse shit right there. That is just.
I had a near miss with that.
And it probably
that might
has,
actually be
like-
the bike I had a near miss with.
Probably has unobtainium 16-inch
Oh, yeah.
wheels. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's just all the bad ideas in one package. Yeah.
I like the exhaust. They were like the designer was off on Fridays.
Yes.
They were like, just somebody designed me an exhaust. Like
Hey, what do we got on the shelf?
What do you got in the way of
Just throw it
straight
out there.
lines?
I'll just take something off an old Enduro.
what would look sexy on this bike? Just do the opposite of that, and that's what
Right.
we're looking for.
Right. That would be
Let's add a
all the
little.
things.
Let's a little flash to it. How about some like a white pinstripe around the
I
tail
think
section?
the one
Oh,
that
yeah.
This is the one that. so
that's
this
cool.
right here is
There
the
you
one.
go.
So in 1992, they went to
midget
the
900 Super Sport.
They went to the perimeter. Don't look at a GSXR frame. They went to this particular build in '92, kind of a darling of the GP racing circuit because 2-stroke 500. Really kind of a just a badass fucking bike.
Dude, that was the peak of sport bikes. That look with the actual tail and all
Yeah.
the stuff. Yeah, I'm
Oh, yeah.
50. All right, but still.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter because I completely agree that in Mid-Ohio in 10 years, there's going to be like a shit ton of these things running around, and they're going to be everything from a F4, like a CBR 600 F4. There'll be like an F4 GSR 600, and then like rando, hey, that's great. What is it? Oh, it's a Changjiang CF Moto Zongshen,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the target audience that China is going to start addressing because they fired the first shot with the Papio. So with the Papio, they were like, oh, people want a double headlight, former YZF 600 looking thing, right? I wonder if we did it with a 125. Should we do it with a 500? You should. Should we do it with a 7? You should.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should we do it with a 900
If
twin?
you're listening,
You should.
If you're listening in from
Right.
China,
Yeah.
and you are responsible for the design,
2 headlights in the
of a
front, square it
modern
off in the
vehicle.
back.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we want.
Get rid of the Manus shit, as I just bought a Manus bike, but I mean, whatever. I'm just saying.
How about eliminate the amount of air between the top of the rear tire and the bottom of the rear bodywork?
Right.
As opposed to making something that is looking like a Bosozoku bike,
Right.
we instead have something like this. And if you do this,
I'm so glad those bazooka. What do they call those?
Bosozoku.
Those never caught on over here. Oh,
Oh,
my
I'd
God.
love to see
can
one.
you imagine a bunch of guys sitting on
That's
Sportsters
Mid-Ohio
from
next-
1992
next-
cutting calls?
Next year
Right?
at Mid Ohio,
Yeah.
that's what we should do. Have those things in the gigantic 10 feet in the air.
A windscreen 10 feet up in the air. But this time, though, it's a vetter.
Yeah.
So instead of a Japanese, instead of a little Japanese American, it's a legitimate Windjammer. It's a Windjammer 2, 9 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Just on
I'm in.
fucking, just on shovel sticks. Not
Right.
even fucking nothing exciting.
A
We
12
can put those on a Coleman mini
A
bike.
12-foot tall Windjammer 2.
Yes.
And in the back, have Buko boxes.
Yeah,
Oh
no,
my
he's-
God.
26
he's
feet in the
got
air.
it
I challenge
right
you.
there.
I challenge you. A Coleman mini bike with full fairings.
I've got it. I'll do it.
A full dresser Coleman.
Listen,
You
at
know-
Skidmark Garage, all we have is vetters and boxes. All this takeoff stuff is just on shelves waiting to get thrown in the garbage.
Oh, the rarest Windjammer, Vetter Windjammer Le Mans. He's got we got 12 of them.
I'll put them together tomorrow. How many do you want?
The Project Coleman that never ends in the back of the shop, man. I'm
Right.
kind of on this.
I actually have a Coleman that I got it and it was running everything and it was one of the camouflage ones.
Yeah, that's what he's got.
That's exactly what I've got in the back of the shop.
And they got the big balloon tires on
Yep.
it, right? And there's no inner tube in the back. And
Yep.
I changed the tire because it was bald as, I'll
Yep.
get out, put a new tire in it. And I can't get that freaking tire to sit
No.
on the rim
Yeah.
and seat and fill up with air. So I just gave up on it. It's like literally in a wheelbarrow.
And there's
in the
no
back.
tube.
Well,
But
that's-
I'm going to now do the Windjammer and all that
Yeah.
stuff on
Fire,
it.
dude.
It's
Use
going to
fire.
happen.
Just spray a
why
can
not?
of fucking
Like-
starting fluid in there and light a fire.
I fucked
We're not allowed
up.
to. Our
I've done
insurance.
that.
Our insurance.
No,
won't
it's
cover
so
that.
easy.
Outside in the garage or on the street.
Well, no. Actually, I've got the dump tank in the back. Bring it by.
Has
yeah,
been
the-
done, Ken.
That trucker.
Yeah.
I got that trucker dump.
Oh, you guys
tank.
don't have an air pig? A bead blaster?
Yeah.
We have your old tire machine
You
at
need
the.
a bead blaster.
We don't have one of those.
Okay,
no.
I'll show you what a
Yeah.
bead blaster is. I'll
Is
pull
it the
up.
one with the big?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's a
don't,
dump valve.
but
Yeah,
don't fuck with
Don't
anybody.
look at it.
You could blow people's assholes out. This
Wait
guy-
a second, man.
Well, that's the funny part. Is every time I fill this thing up to do a tire that I can't get to beat, I look at it. I'm like,
You've never seen the Indian guy? The Indian guy's
there you
buddy
go.
goes
Yeah.
and shoves
There
it
you
in
go.
his
Oh, yeah,
butt.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
He
And
blew
the
it. I
guy's
remember that.
fucking
Oh,
died,
God.
man.
You turn the guy inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the bead blaster is not fooling around.
No.
The bead,
and the funny part
very
is,
few things work as advertised.
I think you need a safe word with that thing.
the bead blaster.
I scavenged a pressure gauge because
Right.
that one was busted.
Now it's broken.
And I put it on, and every time I fill it up, I'm like, this thing is going to explode in my face.
So here's the
Yeah.
thing about a bead blaster and why you don't need a pressure gauge. Because the air compressor feeding it can only feed 125,
Right.
130
So, yeah,
PSI,
you can't
right?
get more than that.
So the bead blaster, on the other hand, can hold about 300 PSI because it's got a giant dump valve on it. It's not encumbered by all these hoses and pneumatic tubes and shit like that. Everything on a bead blaster is non-hosical. So everything on a bead blaster is just Chinese welding and
Which we know holds 300
Right.
psi.
and a dump valve,
Pressure tested.
an emergency dump valve that will save your life someday.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
That 13-year-old knew exactly how to glue that thing
Yeah.
together.
Well,
I
the
promise
cool
you,
part, my
believe it.
neighbor has one of those, and he was filling it up with his giant compressor.
Right.
And it stopped looking cylindrical and looked more round. It's like,
when
you
it
should
looks
probably-
when it looks like a pig,
you should
you've
probably
done.
release that thing, man.
You're done. These things will pop a bead
Yeah.
better than a half a can of starting fluid. Yeah.
But not as glorious.
I just gave up because I was, whatever. Got other
When the
stuff to
boys
do.
were in town on Wednesday, when I had Mike from from Norfolk,
Yeah.
and when I had Mike from Norfolk and I had Jake from Santa Cruz, I was like, let's do an away mission. So we had to go get Liza's bike out of the warehouse and other various, squirrel fuckery. So we get over to the warehouse and I'm like, aha, I have 2 able-bodied people with me and one of them is a firefighter. One of them identifies as a firefighter. The other guy's a farmer. And I'm like, this is the perfect combination for some shenanigans. So we went over to the other side of the warehouse where my Toyota Hi-Ace Bosozoku NASA Sex capsule
the white-
has been parked, the white one.
Yeah.
So the white one's been there for about 6 months. because when I had to move it so they could put a new roof on the building, the right front tire, which was already overstressed because of the whole lowrider thing, the right tire decided to leave the bead.
Yeah.
So I had a right tire, but no bead to keep the luft inside. So my internal compression tire was an external compression tire. So I jacked it up and I tried putting air in it, and to no avail. I couldn't get a bead to seat with various different portable air compressors I took over there. So short of taking the air pig over, well, no, I have a farmer and a fireman.
What could go wrong?
3 up in the front of the Ford Robert Redford truck. So I was like, this is perfect. I have a can of carb cleaner. I have a source of ignition. I have 2 willing people that will stand in front of me to catch the shrapnel when shit goes weird.
Right.
I don't think we can fuck this up.
No.
So we spray carb cleaner into the tire. We light up a piece of pallet that we broke at the other warehouse, and he walks up to it, Mike, the fireman. He walks up to it with the glowing ember. As he touched it, the fire went out. Which I can't tell you, the suspension was killing me, right? Like, it was great. But the fire went out, and he was like, ah, shit. I was like, no, light it up again. So he lights it up again, he walks up again, and the rim catches on fire.
Yeah.
But we never get the satisfying boom of a tire seating. Oh, man. So we have a little air compressor, and I was going to go get a tie-down strap, and we'll just try it the old-fashioned way. But fortunately, it was like a 90-degree day, and all the rubber molecules had decided to play along, and we just put air in it, and all of a sudden it just caught a bead.
Yeah.
And I was like, we win! Now to get a 3.0 liter diesel that hasn't been started in 8 months.
Sure.
Started on the 12-volt battery that Toyota decided was adequate. It wasn't. So we jumped it. It was fine. And we had the air conditioner going, and we're sitting inside, and we're like, yeah. We had like the tuck and roll Astro Glide fucking sponsored.
I'm surprised you don't bring that to Mid-Ohio.
Hey, it is not Mid-Ohio rated.
No,
that can't get anywhere except the hot pits. Like, it's got to be, there has to be angles of declination no more than 3 degrees.
Does it still have the shelf on the front of it?
It does. It does still have the lower deck.
That's the swap meet
the
cruiser.
chin spoiler.
I mean, honestly, you could save people.
You could
Ohio, they
you
just
could-
hit it and just.
Yeah, it's a cow catcher.
Yeah.
Right. It's what it is. Yeah. It's basically there's an entire family of Japanese people that were just conceived in the back of this van.
Yeah.
I believe it.
It's so good.
they glued
3
a-
head units. I don't
glued
know
a
why a van
surfboard.
needs 3 head units, but it has 3 head
Why
units.
not?
It's so weird.
Why not?
But we got it going, and we moved it over to my warehouse, so now it's where it needs to be.
Did you get there was, when you lifted that one panel, when we
Yeah.
were trying to see when the stereo would work or not,
Yeah.
there was a scent
Yeah.
that I've never experienced
yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Is that still there?
Yeah. It's weird. I don't know what it is.
Bukkake?
It's kind of sexual, though.
No, it's got a weird a
Yeah.
muskiness to it.
bukkake.
And I just think it might just be like a generation of former samurai warriors or something. Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think somebody was just like,
Bukkake.
Italian Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That was it. That's the best I can say.
I like the fold-out Coke table, though.
The fold-out Coke table is super sexy, and the glass top cocktail table in the back with the LED lighting in it,
Unbelievable.
where you have 3 preamps that go to nothing as far as I can
when
tell.
you were buying it, did you know it was going to be that good?
No, I bought it with like 12 poorly taken photos on a flip phone
Gotcha.
from a guy in Japan. I never do a lot of research into these things.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it, because you do get surprised with some good shit.
I do,
sometimes.
don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Let me know when it hits Marketplace.
Yeah, I think that's going straight to bring a trailer.
Somewhere out there is the right porn star to own this thing.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Or
There's mirrors
just
on
put a big Hello Kitty on the side of it.
I think. Well, Becky actually wants that Godzilla, the Hello Kitty holding Godzilla.
It's gone.
No.
Oh.
The art.
Oh, the art. Yeah. It's
She
low
wants
res.
that for the next vehicle she has.
Dude, you know what you should do with some of these things?
Yeah.
You should force sell them. So, like, go to like some super web, like, or some super YouTube guy's thing, like Jake Paul. Just put his logo on the side and be like, "Hey, come get your car."
Oh, I
You
see
know
what
what I mean?
you're
'Cause
going.
it's
Yeah.
weird enough.
Right,
It's
right.
weird enough if they had a logo on it, they'd be like, "I gotta buy that."
I gotta buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta buy this.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I hadn't really thought
a
about
little
that.
aggressive, like forceful marketing.
Dude, I totally need a rape ban.
I was not joking when I was thinking about like, okay, here's what we do. We call Whistling Diesel,
Oh yeah,
and we just tell them we're gonna have the weirdest demolition derby ever. we're going to empty out my warehouse. And I'm going to hand you a key. You don't know what it is. And then you get 2 days to make it run Junkyard Wars style. And I'm going to tell you, they all ran when they got put in there. I'm going to promise you, you are a battery and a can of carb cleaner away from true fucking explosive awesomeness. But, I mean, for what it's worth, if somebody came and gave me like, hey, here's $10,000, you can have it all.
Yeah.
Right? Even the weird Hearst shit. Because I'm just done. I don't know.
What's weird?
I lost the fun.
When you hit that wall, that's
Yeah.
what happened to me in vintage bikes, man. I hit the wall, and then like I was at Mid Ohio around all this, and I didn't want any of them.
Right.
It was weird, man. Oh, look, it's Skid Mark.
It's Skid Mark Garage. There you go.
It's all the vetters.
Okay.
I got a
we
picture
got-
of Skid Mark Garage.
Got a couple of white ones, a couple of brown ones. I'm not kidding, man. Like, we got stacks of that dumb shit, all over the
You
place.
should learn how to
Craig
make it with a
Vetter
coffee
is
table.
probably listening, or at least we know Morgan, his son, is listening. They are very much aware of what they've done to the American motorcycling scene, which was gave them actual miles per gallon, gave them a way to transport their 8-track tape player.
Listen, if you're building a Purple Rain bike, that's the perfect thing for it. But
You know,
you're not going to really ride
having
around today
seen-
with one of those
Having
things.
seen a 1978 Honda Goldwing 1100 in rare form, and knowing what the Goldwing became, this is the reason why the Goldwing became what it became.
Of course it is.
Because the original bike kind of sucked.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
And this made that bike.
Yeah. I'm not.
Nobody wants to do
absolutely promise you.
95 miles an hour across the United States of America with no windshield.
No, but what you're looking at there is
And no
16,000 pounds of fiberglass.
Maybe a little bit more.
But
yeah.
you know, the BMW R100 RT
Right.
gave itself so that Vetter could make this, so that
Right.
the Goldwing didn't suck.
Yeah. It did. It made, and I have had. Look, I had a Honda CB500F. There's nothing wrong with that motorcycle. Okay, it's fine. It's the best 500cc British bike ever sold by the Japanese.
Yeah.
It's smooth as fucking silk. It'll do 100 miles an hour. But the previous owner had put a Vetter on the front, showy boxes in the back, straight up turned it into a touring bike. And it was disgusting.
Well, you know how, like, at the garage, we got Moto Go and they do
Yep.
the 350s. So someone, I don't know who, Brian ended up getting like 3 CB350s, and one had this white Vetter on the front, and it had the most perfect painted unicorn
Oh, yeah.
right above the headlight,
Nice.
below the thing. And I was like,
It knew what it
Brian,
was.
you cannot get rid of that. He goes, throw it in the garbage. And I'm like, no, we're not getting rid of that. Look at the unicorn that's painted on this thing.
Right.
It's amazing.
It's
And so-
amazing.
And so now that's on a Coleman mini bike.
It will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it will be.
Because
Yep.
if it's not, let me know. I'll come get it. It will be on my Coleman mini bike.
Listen, you guys come down. We'll build a couple of these damn things.
There we go.
We should figure out how to put them together and make something. Like 5 of them into a thing and make like a headlight like UFO for Mid Ohio or something like. I'm getting
could.
into this.
Yeah,
I'm getting into this.
Yeah,
But
I
at that
completely
point,
agree.
guess what time it is? It's 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Dude, we just had a real podcast.
We did?
That was a legit podcast. I'm very
Well, you-
proud of that. Very proud of our work.
So before we roll out,
And I recorded this one onto a thing. It's recorded.
before
That's
we roll
right.
out,
That's a novel
Thanks,
idea.
not John from AMA Vintage Days. Yeah,
And I didn't even show you some gross girls' butts from the
was there any specific reason why you had the R1100 GS up there?
I did. There is. I don't know. God damn it. I kind of had that.
We got away from it.
It's okay. So a local fella here wanted to remind us that he's got a motorcycle for sale.
Okay.
And I got distracted when I was looking at it because one of my other friends put up a bunch of Dodgems. That happened.
That's for Mid Ohio next year. It's okay.
Right, yeah. So the one guy puts up a bunch of Dodgems, and I was like, that sounds like a really good idea. I should totally buy a bunch of Dodgems. Because, hey, who knows that need a whole bunch of Dodgems? We can convert those over to electric.
Predator mini bike motors, we're in.
Okay, I was just going to say car batteries and starter motors, right? Not hard to do.
Right.
But anyway, one of my many folks, sends over a listing for me, and he's like, "Hey, I know you're trying to sell that Zongshen 250cc dirt bike.
Tim's bike, yeah.
So I've got a bike that you should really be interested in because there aren't too many of these, so you might be interested. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up for you guys. Let's pull it up on both the screens. All right, here we go. This is a 1999 BMW R1100 GS. Oh. That's the Galandestrasse, folks.
I'll trade him straight up.
The 1999. Okay, cool. No problem so far in the game.
Well, yeah.
Not a bad looking motorcycle, not even a little bit. Very,
It looks
very
clean, actually.
Very
Yeah.
nice looking
Yep.
motorcycle.
How many miles?
It's very beaky.
Oh, very cool bike. I gotta say at this
I
point,
believe that may
I'm-
be a later tank too. That looks like an oversized tank. And
Is
they
it-
didn't have the adventure model back
Is it,
then.
Right.
So not the GS R1100 GSA.
Okay, so here we are.
That is a big tank.
That is a big look. Isn't that tank gigantic?
That's an 8
I believe that is an oversized tank.
Okay.
You think it's GSA?
Well, that's an oversized ass, I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah.
Big ass.
All right.
That's a big ass.
That's a big ass.
I dated that girl in high school.
Right. That's at least $1,100 with a Corbin
Yeah.
Yeah.
at some point in
There
the
you go.
world, right?
Yeah, right.
Not too shabby.
How many miles are on that thing?
Yeah.
Well,
What does he want
We
for
should
it?
get to that.
Okay.
No, wait, how did I get back to that? All right.
I don't know. You're driving.
I don't know. Yeah, right. What happened? What the fuck happened, man?
Well, now we're back
Took
to
a wrong turn.
Now we're
somewhere.
back
We're
to
back
that.
to Dodgems.
Right, we're back to Dodgems. Yay. So, anywho, as I'm kind of going along and I'm becoming very interested in this guy's bike, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. And I'm starting to wonder, like, how much does this guy want for this thing? Because it looks sharp. And there's not a lot to hate about a 1999 BMW. No,
There's
right?
one thing to hate about it.
The ABS system.
No, that giant front headlight.
Oh, the giant
It's
front
a
light.
single square headlight.
I was thinking the weak threads in the block that cause the cylinders to pull themselves out.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
But
all right. Yep.
we can go with that
Right.
headlight thing.
Well, that headlight,
R1100 GS.
they
The
actually
1100s were a little weak at the block.
He's got a log book.
but he has
Yeah,
a
that's
logbook.
nice.
He's got a very detailed logbook.
This guy a professor?
I think he might be an engineer.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
say,
Oh,
I'm gonna
of
say
course.
an accountant.
I was going to say that was Pete, but
All right.
Wow.
Okay. So we've seen it now, and there's a lot to be said. There's a lot going on
I just saw
here.
a
right?
2015 TW200 for
Yeah, that's a different.
Yeah.
That's a different jam. All right. So here we go, and I'm kind of looking at this thing, and I'm like, this is pretty interesting.
It's got the bar risers.
You got the ABS flash.
Oh wait, does that say 90,000 miles
Yep.
on the speedometer?
That's average.
It
Just
does
broken
say
in.
90,000 miles on the speedometer.
afraid of.
No,
And both ABS lights are flashing.
Well, yeah,
it
it's
has
'cause
to go
it's-
through its test mode.
It has to go through
it's
test
sitting
mode.
still.
Exactly right. Now, here's the question. You're right, giant fucking headlight. But other than that, it's got a schnabel.
Well,
It's got two fenders in the front, which is one more than you need, but hey, it's a BMW, so who cares? $5,000.
ooh,
Yeah, no,
Would you buy it?
no, not even close.
no, thank you.
and I say this as someone with an R1150 sitting in the garage right now.
Yeah.
That is optimistic.
That is optimistic.
Because the oil heads now are with about half that miles
Right.
are going for about that much money.
I know.
You can get a decent 1200 for $6,000.
Hex heads are cheaper.
You can get an R1200C for $40 if you buy a ticket at Skidmark.
No, it's already gone.
Oh, it did
Yeah.
go?
It's gone.
Oh, who won it?
There was a winner.
Some guy named Adam Harp or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Adam
Okay, all
something.
right. All right, well, there you go.
Because I
He
was
drove it. He drove it away the other day.
Excellent.
That's cool.
Because I was a little bit like, oh,
Oh,
because I put my $50 in.
I did too. I put $200
Yeah,
bucks
but
in. Yeah.
dude, there's
Well,
like
Yeah.
There's another one on the marketplace for I think $2,000 or $1,800.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah,
I don't want to pay real money
The
for it.
R1200C
Right.
is not an expensive bike.
No, but the point being that $5,000.
No.
So it's gotten so desperate that this guy wants to trade this for your bike. for brother Tim's bike and cash, obviously. So I was like, so you want me to give you $3,000 and a perfectly good running Chinese motorcycle for your Teutonic worn out dream machine?
I mean, I'd give
90,000.
him.
That bike has served somebody very well. And
Yes.
it's been taken care of.
Yes.
It's got an expensive seat. It's got expensive boxes on the back.
Yeah.
Its time is done, though.
But its time is done.
There we go. That's
You know
right.
what? You know what?
That expensive seat
I
holds
would
his
go-
ass's form to it. It's
I'd-
not going to fit your ass.
I'd go $200 on those boxes because I need those boxes for mine.
So now you're taking it apart already.
yeah. But the rest
Honestly, if I bought that bike, I'd take those boxes off. I
Yeah.
hate the
Right.
big
of it,
hard
I
boxes.
love
big
them
square
because I can go to
boxes.
I mean,
Aldi's
they're-
and put I can go to Aldi's and put like $100 worth of
This
groceries.
guy includes invoices
Yeah.
for $27.
Well, that's good. And he's got the logbook of probably all the stuff that he's done
Those
to
are-
it. That's good.
Those,
I don't
those are
care.
amazing bikes, but at this point, the 1100's of what?
Here's a receipt
$2,500
for
bike?
$210 worth of Olean's bushes.
I don't
Bushings,
care how
right?
much money he wasted.
It is,
I don't care
it
how
is
much money he
historical.
wasted. Right.
It's
that is
historical
exactly
now.
right.
I love mine. 'cause
Yeah, you're right. It's historical
cheap as
plates.
chips. Yeah,
Historical
hysterical.
plates. Yeah.
But 5,000 is not realistic.
No.
You start
Not
looking at
realistic.
the marketplace, and you
All
could
right,
probably
bring up
find
the
the same bike for like
TW200
$2,200
I'm
bucks.
interested
Hex
in.
heads now.
my too.
Hex heads out now with half that mileage are going for that much money.
That's true.
What was that model?
Right.
That's the oil head.
1100.
our 1100 GS. Yeah, our 1100 GS.
And I'm not going to lie, I'd like a hex head.
It's fine. Look,
They're
it's
great
fine.
bikes.
Yeah,
But
I just thought
they're
that would be an
not-
interesting diversion would be like, hey, it's got 90,000 miles on it. It's obviously been maintained.
Yeah.
I argue with this. I think this is what we call in the industry third owner syndrome. So third owner syndrome is the guy who bought it new, put 86,000 of those miles on
Yeah.
it. And he sold it for $2,500 to this guy. And this guy now wants to sell it for $5,000 because he just put 800 into it and is realizing he might have got fucked.
Yeah, he had to put the 70,000 mile BMW service
He
into
could
it,
anything.
which
Right.
I mean
Yeah.
that's the
Right.
hydraulics, that's
Yeah.
the
Right.
If he had the transmission pulled to do the splines.
And as a $5,000 motorcycle goes, I bought a Kawasaki Concourse with 86,000 miles on it for $1,200
Yeah.
that then proceeded to refuse to
And-
die for another 3,000 miles.
And
Right.
I'm going to
Well-
face facts. The 1100, the 1150, and even the 1200 have not retained their value.
No, dude, there was a dude in Lakewood. I like all for 2 years of looking at Marketplace. The dude had this exact bike. I mean,
Right.
the black, everything
Yeah.
was the same, not the bags.
Right.
$2,500, and it was sitting there for fucking
course.
2 years, and it had
Yeah.
40,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
We have had a nonstop parade of our 1100 insert last two digits here.
Yeah.
Right? Owners call the shop and say, hey, I've got an R1100 insert two letters here
Oh,
that
it's that
hasn't
thing.
run in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Did you watch Charlie and Ewan when you bought it?
Yeah, right. That was 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Holy shit, that was 20 years ago.
well, that's why BMW. So nobody bought those bikes until that show came out. Like
Right.
7 guys that German dudes bought them. That was it.
Yeah.
But every time somebody calls me and says, will you work on? No.
Right.
No, I won't work on that.
And
Oh my
it's-
God.
It's hysterical because I am one of the few people that can fix that
No.
bike. And you won't let me because you know how much time it will take.
No, you can do those in your garage
Exactly, and
when
I'm not-
you're off work.
And I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, if you feel so inspired,
Yeah.
you can attack that all day
No,
long.
absolutely not.
But in my shop, we need to make money.
Exactly.
But I like how he wants the Jesse bags. Each one of those bags is 147 pounds.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're the most. I had a pair of those on my Super 10 Ray for like a day until I almost took a sledgehammer to them.
Can I also inform you that the previous owner of this bike does not own the KLX 110 in the background, and the previous owner of the bike doesn't have the Insane Clown Posse helmet that is sitting on the seat of this bike right now.
So those aren't recent pictures?
Oh no, I think these pictures are from yesterday.
Okay.
But I think that this fella lucked himself into a $2,500 deal.
Yeah.
But if you look in the background, there's also something that resembles a Japanese 300cc cruiser.
Boy, have I got a used Buddy 50 for you.
Look at this picture. There's a Japanese blue
yeah.
something
Yeah,
cruiser
yeah.
in the background,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
like there is a story here, right? There's something going on that's,
I mean, it's
Yeah, you can see it right,
right?
there. Yeah.
There's a shadow back there. There's a VLX 600 shadow back
it's a
there.
solid motorcycle.
Right.
It just has no value anymore.
Right.
Right.
And I can tell you, too, look at how much lawn this guy has to mow.
yeah.
Right? So he'll take meth.
I have like 17,000 times that much grass. I
You'll
don't
take
do
weed.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
All right. Enough said. That's it.
So anyway.
I don't trust anybody with more than 1 acre of mowable land.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want it. We're gonna rewild most of it.
There you go. All right. Anybody got anything else?
He only took tips. I mean,
I got
Chris meant-
one quick thing.
Right.
This was a humorous thing that happened to my brother and I on the way in here. We're getting off the highway ramp, 71 and West 150th Street. There's a guy out there with a cardboard sign, begging for change.
Right.
And it said,
As always.
former pimp. It says, homeless and holeless. Please help.
Homeless and holeless.
Oh, I forgot too. At the end of Tom Street here.
If your sign's funny, you haven't been hungry for long.
yeah.
Hungry people have no sense of
yeah.
humor.
right after the bridge, like coming down on
Right.
150th or to get to 150th, some dude got taken out on a electric scooter. Like laid the fuck out.
Oh,
there
yeah.
were people there. The dude was all
Really?
like, oh yeah, gnarly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just tonight?
Yeah, like on the way here, I forgot about it because we started talking about it.
Yeah.
But the poor guy, he did,
Was he on like a stand-up scooter?
yeah, it
or
was
one
like
of those
a bird, like
a bird, yeah, a local.
not a rent one though. This is like one he
Oh,
owned.
privately
It was
owned
a
bird.
bigger. It was
remember,
bigger.
remember, kids, 30 mile an hour. It doesn't
And-
matter
and
what you're on.
Here's the sad part, though,
Right.
right? This dude, if I could describe him, he probably had to be convinced, like, oh no, it's electric, it's safe.
Right.
He seemed
Right.
like the kind of guy that was like, no, I'm doing a very sensible thing. This is okay. And now he looked like an ant that got
I was going to
burned.
say, you made all of this assessment about his character from his disfigured corpse on the side of the
Dude,
road.
he had like tan khakis on and a 3-button polo
Oh.
and a little cap with a little bean hat.
Oh.
But the sad part was, when like you burn a spider or something and the legs go like this and like every part of him was just crinkled. Like, he was laying there like that. Like it was not.
Maybe he was just taking it for a test ride.
Oh, I hope not.
I don't know, but
But there was a lady like out of her car crying.
his
like,
entire
she must have
body
hit him
became a
and stuff.
sphincter and was just like, I'm in.
I felt bad for the
that's
dude, man.
bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I'm very much like,
You hear that, kids? Stay away from electric scooters.
yeah, they're
Get
dangerous.
180
Horses,
power
horses too. Horses are dangerous.
Yeah,
Horses are
yeah,
dangerous.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I'm out today riding into work on my DOT Crocs.
What is it? Round in the middle and crafty on both ends?
I am not like I am a bad poster child for like this. I'm wearing the T-shirt, the cutoff BDUs, the Crocs.
Well, case in point, I showed up at ClevelandMoto on my 93 F2
right.
with the tires that are date coded 92.
91.
91.
Your tires were date coded the 42nd
They still
week
look
of
good.
91.
They got a lot of meat left, man. I'm riding them.
It's 33 years old, man.
They
Just
got a lot
don't
of
twist the
meat.
throttle that much.
You're-
That's-
Your tires are 33 years
My
old.
bike only has 5,300 miles on it.
I
so-
know.
You're selling somebody a bike earlier this morning, and I'm like riding through with like my legs up in the air and holding on to one hand with a
The
beer.
tires, the bad laxes on your bike,
Yeah.
circa 1991 or 2,
Yeah.
look better
Yeah.
than the fucking Avons, or look
Well,
better than the.
Quick story. I got to tell
Yeah,
you the way I
those
got
things
this
look
bike.
good,
The way
yeah.
I got this bike years ago, maybe like 2.5 years ago, I
Right.
bought this bike.
Yeah.
I loved it because it was my first bike. Was the black, red, and silver CBR 600 F2.
600, right.
Loved that bike. Always dreamt about the red, white, and blue. Never could find one.
Yeah.
Found
Pink, white, and blue.
with that too. Okay. So I found this bike 2.5 years ago and I bought it. And I'm like staring at it going like, man, this thing is like too good to be true. I think someone
good to be
restored it. And I'm looking at I'm like, man, this is great. I'm taking pictures. I posted on Facebook. Guy that I knew lives down in Tennessee goes, what do you want for that? And I go, what? Really? Like, I just bought it. Like,
Right. It's fresh.
How would you like double your money? And I go, absolutely.
We're game on.
Sold it to him. You know what he did with it? He put it in his house.
Yeah.
He literally got an electric crane, put it up on the second floor, and for the last 2 years, that's where it's been sitting.
Yeah.
In his house.
It's just art, man.
Now is the time. I traded him another bike for
Right.
it, got it back, went through the car, battery, give it a little tune up, and filled the tires up with air. And I've put 140 miles on it in the last 2 days, and it's amazing.
Right.
But everyone's like, you should replace those tires. I'm like, do they look remotely dry rotted?
Okay. So here's what I can tell you about those tires. they're remarkably not dry rotted.
No.
But the woodpecker holes concern me.
Yeah.
Right? They quit being rubber about 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They have turned into just carbon. all the emollients, all of the things that make rubber have left. These are a thing called Bakelite that they used to make radios out of.
You're gonna have to chip
Right.
these off the rims.
Yeah.
Like
If he hits a pothole, they're gonna shatter.
Yeah.
Right. These tires are straight up. Like you drag your fingernail across a tire, it's not supposed to feel like mahogany.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it feels more like ebony.
Yeah, I was going to say Stradivarius violins were made out of softer wood than this.
Right.
It's a very, very old tire.
Very
But it's
old.
a beautiful bike. It's
Yeah,
a
well.
gorgeous bike. But you're never going to corner it that hard anyway. So, yeah, don't sweat it. It's
No.
fine. Yeah. It's so funny.
All right.
All right, ready?
I'm going to call it.
Fuck it.
that's
Play us
it.
out of here. Play us out of here, Tom.
Everyone.
Tom.
Ride fast. Take chances. Get us out of here.